The first place that I went to was the most disgusting place I've ever been into in my life.
What was that?
It was some DC lockup here in town, and I wouldn't even have put an animal in there.
To get this into the public eye, we're trying to win this war, and we can't do it without your help.
Because these are not your bills. These are man-made bills designed to remove you from government, Lord, and we place you back in government. We call you back into government, Lord.
None of that. I mean, I know. The money laundering, like, I don't even know what, we're not dealing with that right now.
And I'm trying to make the right action and do the right thing here. And I'm being met with, with either hatred or, oh, you're causing problems.
It is not their responsibility to strip you of your freedom. We have been tasked by our founding fathers to regulate our government and to check the abuses of power. That's our job as people.
And that's just, to me, what it's looking like is they're trying to weasel their way into all these different organizations and report back to their other bosses, and it's like a harsh takeover, And if you look at all the synergy of all these different bills, they all kind of like play together and they have synergy together. So you have to zoom out, look at the big picture, read all the bills, and put together the pieces of the puzzle.
Guess what? The people that push socialism stand out there and hand them socialism pamphlets as they come out of school. So why can't we hand them something to try and keep this country great instead of turning it into a,
The People's Convoy got together in casinos and in our campsites to utter a battle cry. But today, I'm going to utter that battle cry because they have given me courage and strength. The things, the ways, the peoples, the hearts we've changed. So I'm not going to hold back, and I hope you too can take encouragement from this. Freedom!
Boom. All right, what's up, y'all? Blocking people. I'm only blocking one person at this point. They know who they are. They know what they did. They know what they're actively doing. I don't know who this new one is down there, but we got quite a bit to cover today. We got Ken Before a Storm coming on, and allegedly Eric Clark as well. We'll see how that goes. We got a lot to cover. Kem's got his whole... he's at trial now, representing himself and whatnot. He's going to talk about those experiences and specifically, well, I'll wait till he's on here to cover the angle that I want to talk to him about because it's quite fascinating what they're putting him through. What they done did to this man. What they done doing to this man. All right. Yeah, thank you for that. I got a few of these. Let's take a look at some of Kem's footage here so we can familiarize ourselves with the situation. Let's see. Boom. So this is Kem before the storm. He's coming on here. He's mid-trial. And, he's representing himself. Whatever, people. He's not representing himself. How can you represent yourself? He's presenting himself in court. Whatever. Whatever you want to say. He's doing that thing. And he's doing pretty well at it. So, we're going to have a discussion with him. Let's take a watch of this video here.
I walked away. It was convenient. Yeah. Dude, what is your problem, bro? Are you looking to... Do you see this? Are you recording?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I'm gonna get that body cam, bro. I'm gonna file a complaint on you. That's out of line.
Do you have any other videos
Convenient?
of this?
You know exactly what you meant by that.
You're choosing to record what you want.
I'm recording the whole interaction. I turned and walked away. And you're telling me that's convenient? Were you there? Do you know what happened? I'm trying to give you evidence right now, and you're starting shit. F you.
I'll leave LT. I'm sorry. That was my mistake. Man. I apologize, sir. I'm leaving. Clearly, I'm aggravating things.
All right, man. Yeah, you shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, no, I fucked up. I'm sorry.
Because I was going to try to talk to him afterwards and ask him not to put this shit on YouTube.
911, what's your emergency?
This is Verde Valley, Thousand Trails. We need the sheriff.
Okay, this is the sheriff.
Hello, this is the security officer here. We're having an issue with a guest who's become aggravated and is now threatening if we approach him.
Okay, and what is he doing?
He's threatening. He's sending texts to us because we're not answering all his questions properly, and now he says if we approach him, his PTSD is getting aggravated and it could escalate if we approach him. He wants to have the sheriff escort him down to site A42 when they arrive.
Okay, and then he wants us to go over there and escort to the mail.
He would like to be escorted down to talk to this guy, yeah.
Does he have any weapons on him that you know of?
We don't know that.
Okay.
Are they on the way, by the way?
Yeah, I do have help started that way. Is he white, black, Asian, or Hispanic?
I do not know.
You don't know what he looks like?
I haven't seen him, so I don't know.
Okay.
So are they dispatched already?
Yeah, I do have help started that way, sir. Okay. I did let them know that he is at the office right now with your manager, okay?
Do you have backup coming?
We have units responding.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, step out of the vehicle, please. What? I'm on private property, boss. Have I broken the law? Step out of the vehicle, please. Have I broken the law?
No, but this officer safety. We don't know what's in the vehicle. We're going to like you step out and we can talk to you.
Well, this isn't a traffic stop.
Step out of the car. We're giving you a lawful order.
Step out of the car.
This is not a traffic stop.
Step out of the car.
And I have not broken a law.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're under arrest, so get out of the car.
Get out of the car.
What am I under arrest
Disorderly
for?
conduct. Get out of the car.
What disorderly conduct?
Get out of the car. We'll talk about it. But right now, you're resisting arrest.
Get out of the car. We're going to drag you out. We're going to break your window, drag you out. Don't do this.
What conduct did I do?
Disorderly conduct. It's a criminal charge.
Disorderly conduct?
ARS 13-1904. Anything that disrupts the peace of another. Get out of the car. You're under arrest.
Wait, you witnessed disorderly conduct to arrest?
Get out of the car.
Is there a sergeant here?
My lieutenant's right here.
Okay,
get out of the car.
Disorderly conduct to arrest me?
We're trying to talk to you.
Well, he's saying I'm under arrest.
So once we're all on the window, we'll talk to each other.
Well, am I under arrest or not?
So we're doing an
No, I'm not under arrest. And they
okay,
just
but you're being
arrest.
detained. You're being lawfully detained.
Okay, I'll agree with you there.
So, want to act like a normal person?
Am I under arrest like this officer?
Okay, what did I just tell you?
You said I'm not.
What did I tell you? That you're being detained, right? Sir, please step out of the vehicle.
No.
Okay.
So I said I'll talk to you.
Okay, do you have any weapons in your car?
I'm not going to answer any
Okay,
questions.
because this is a big difference between us taking you out or not. So you can run down the window the whole way and let us see your hands, or we're going to rip you out of the car. Roll down the window. Okay, this isn't a bro. We're getting to the point where this isn't a negotiation.
I understand my rights. I have no officer.
Okay, well, if you understand your rights, there's a Supreme Court case that says you have to get out of the car. This is a lawful traffic.
On private property?
We are stopping you. Okay,
So
do you
what am
want to
I being
argue about
stopped
this,
for?
or do you want to talk about why we're here?
I want to know.
Let me see
You
both
said I'm
your
under
hands.
arrest, and you said maybe. Now I'm not stopped for a traffic stop. Clearly.
You're being legally detained.
Okay, to
now we're going to knock
investigate
this out.
something. To investigate something?
Yes.
Okay. What are you investigating?
Disorderly conduct.
Okay. Where? Well, I wasn't disorderly. So, what do you want to know?
What happened? What?
I mean, I have on film me just talking to him. You know, he was not. We weren't.
So I tried to arrange a meeting. We had an incident. He got in one of my security guys' face last night. So I tried to arrange a meeting with the guy. Then he got all pissy on a text with security, even though I'd sent him an email to meet with me about his actions. So then he came up and just stormed the office. Very combative. He had a history of one of the other parts of being combative. He recorded me the whole time.
All right. So again, this is Ken before the storm. This is the incident. I don't know what the office bit is. I didn't see this before. I thought I'd watch this video, but I guess not. I mean, I've watched. Which I see Kim's in here. If you want to jump up in here whenever you're ready. Boom. I never saw this office clip bit. I've seen this call. I've seen this recording, but I've never seen the overlay of the other part. But as you can see, the officers are blowing things out of proportion. You know, they admitted to it in the documentation. We have the share this tab instead. Boom. Let me put this full screen. So here's some of the paperwork from Kem before the storm. Let me drop the link. Boom, paste. Whenever you want to come up and start yelling about it. Otherwise, you know, I'll keep going. This is probably what we're going to focus on today. And there's another thing, you know, there's a whole other angle to this story. It kind of ties into the whole J6 thing and Eric Clark and all these other people, you know, getting labeled as something, right? The libel or slander. I don't know which one is it, but, you know, liable, a label, right? So this is his Kem's motion to dismiss. In this motion, he has evidence of I'll let him explain it a bit more, but basically, you know, he made a complaint and they're like, yeah, it's a valid complaint. We should talk with the officers. He's got the, you know, I wanted to let you know I reread your email below and viewed the body-worn camera footage of the deputy's report, and I will be addressing a few things which should have been done differently. And Kem says, thank you for the update. May I please know what training will be reviewed and with which officers? John Johnson says, I will review the civil rights issues and communication de-escalation skills with the first two deputies with whom you spoke. Our agency is also developing additional classroom scenario-based training on de-escalation and civil rights issues for patrol deputies. So what Kem is alleging here in the motion to dismiss is, you know, at first, John Johnson, I don't know exactly who he is, but Kem can explain more, initially said, you know, the officers didn't behave well. And then he goes back on his word and he's like, oh, you know what? They did everything within the lawful authority that they have. You know, and we'll get into the details here about what that really means. But Kem put this all in the motion to dismiss. And we'll see where that one goes. You know, we'll see. All right, Kem's up in here. What's up, bro?
What's up, brother?
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me up.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming up. So that was the footage of the first incident, which you're in trial for right now, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And then trial for the trespassing that came out of it is supposedly next week.
Okay. Oh, so wow, back-to-back trials, huh?
Well, yeah, there's lots that's happened. So the one we just watched, the trial started. Well, I mean, I think it was in June, and the judge granted my motion to suppress. Well, first he granted the motion to suppress based off of Fourth Amendment violations. Like when you just saw they walked up, you're under arrest, no crime. He saw that. He saw what everyone else sees, and he agreed. There's no. Now he said there's no probable cause, but he actually, in a judgy way, chewed him out, saying he didn't even think that there was reasonable suspicion. And he put that in his order, which is pretty. It's very good for me because the state, and I didn't know they could do this. So he dismissed it, right? So now I had 7 charges. So he dismissed the 3 of them that were stemming from that encounter. Well, the state appealed that decision. And it's weird how it worked out. So I started trial, and then he made those decisions, and we went a couple hours of talking to witnesses, and then we stopped for the day, and they couldn't just continue the next day. So the trial got scheduled for 10 days or 2 weeks out. And then in that time, the state gave a notice of appeal that they were appealing his granting my motion to suppress and dismiss. So then this trial got stayed. So that's kind of where we're at now. Is the trial stayed while they wrote their appellate brief that's going to get heard. And after reviewing the law, I realized he is a newer judge, and he shouldn't have granted the motion to dismiss when he did. The motion to suppress is 100% his within his fact-finding view, but the motion to dismiss can only be granted after the prosecution has presented their whole case. So it's not like they're gonna get another bite at the apple, but they just need to basically set aside the motion to dismiss. He can still suppress whatever he has, and then once they presented their case, I'll do a motion for a directed verdict. And I am very confident that the judge is going to grant it right there for at least those 3 charges, and just kind of put it right back at the prosecutor. So that's kind of where that one's at. It's taken a lot out of me, but at the same time, man, I've learned so much, and really, you can't change the law without an appeal. So, while this appeal, I know I'm already going to lose, just because it's allowed me to get kind of my feet wet, because kind of the course that you've taken and I've taken, the jurisdictionary teaches you to plan for your appeal from the beginning. You don't look for something to appeal later.
Yeah, you're always planning the appeal, right? Keeping the judge on his toes, making sure he knows that you know what you're doing, at least pretending. Yeah.
If you can. Yeah, exactly. At least pretending. But I mean, just when it comes down to it, I'm grateful for the judge I got, because the judge makes, it really can, you can get around a bad judge, but it might take you an extra 6 months, you're still going to have to get through them. You can't just, you're not going to persuade them if they're already against you. And most judges are pretty good, but yeah, you said you didn't see that. I didn't. That's basically the guy that's talking right now. When I went in to file a complaint and try to get his email address, I videotaped my encounter, and he later basically tried to turn it into something, which they did with everything. I mean, they literally have lied about the things that are on video. If I didn't have things on video, I'd have no chance in this. I mean, it's amazing. And then you're getting into we didn't even touch on the what you're reading. So the motion to dismiss, that's why I kind of wanted to lay out that I knew I was going to lose the motion to dismiss, because this motion that you just read, I know I'm going to lose it too. Because the law doesn't work, to be honest, how I thought it did going into it. I thought if you could present facts that were undisputable that could show your side, it was almost like a civil case where you could get a summary judgment. you know,
Mhm.
like, and it's not that way. Like, even if you are 100% innocent, if the prosecutor doesn't want to drop charges, even if the judge knows you're innocent and is going to find you not guilty, you have to go through trial. Like, a judge can't look at it and just say, I'm going to dismiss this. And even if he does, the prosecutor can just refile it. It's not like it went away. The only way to get a final disposition is to get a verdict, or essentially have the prosecutor decide not to pursue it. And then if they put in a motion to dismiss, it can get granted and then it's permanent. But winning it on the facts isn't how law works, at least not in criminal. Civil, that is how it works. So I did a freedom of, so now getting back to where basically the slander and the, putting me on a terrorist watch list. And,
yes,
and
I did. So I wanted to get into that whole aspect of things.
Right.
So that's really the most important part here, especially covering like January 6th and all this. So they walked through that.
Whether
they
it's January 6th,
slandered you.
Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whether it's January.
The next,
Sorry, there's a little lag.
They basically slandered you as a sovereign citizen and got you put on a domestic terrorist watch list or whatever. And obviously the same thing is happening to like J6 people, so it kind of ties in that, where they might have done something
all
different,
auditors.
Whatever. But yeah,
they're doing it to all auditors. Anyone that basically anyone that complains with a social media platform is getting lumped into the sovereign citizen terrorist watch list group. And I have the freedom of information stuff shown on me. If anyone's watching Direct D, he just got a ton of freedom of information stuff that covers not only him but a bunch of the auditors down in Arizona, and they're doing the exact same thing. They do a threat assessment on you. They put a bulletin out on you. They send all the cops your picture and your YouTube channel. They tell them not to engage and basically set them up to be confrontational with you as soon as they see a camera. Like, no, instead of just standing there and doing their job and ignoring you, like you used to see news crews just on the corner reporting, and that's what cops did. They ignore them. Now, if you're someone with a phone looking at them, you are a potential terrorist in their eyes.
So somebody's asking here, Troll Central, they are not only a troll, but they are the central source of trolling. What is this dude's main injustice complaint? I mean, so like whittle it down to people. What do you think the main injustice here done to you was?
False arrest. So even though I didn't get arrested in the video you're watching, they 2 months out, basically after the video went viral, and after they substantiated my complaint saying, yeah, we did violate your rights, the video went viral. They completely reversed their position, trumped up a bunch of charges, went back, re-interviewed witnesses. I got to put those witness interviews. I have the body cam. Basically coached the witnesses. Like, the witnesses were giving their statement. They'd be like, well, did he motherfuck you? Did he get close to you? And so they never said he was in my face MFing me, but the cops like, did he get in your face and MF you? And they're like, yeah, I guess he did. It was really, okay, like, check the box. And that's why I'm really not worried. It's because I have most of this on video. But basically, it's false arrest. It's a conspiracy to violate rights. I didn't break any laws. And just because they got mad because I put a video up holding them accountable, they are dragging me through the criminal justice system.
And more importantly,
that's the main complaint on that one.
You were a paying customer at Thousand Oaks Trail.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's like, I mean, I don't even get into that. I'm still, I'm getting some of that back in a credit card chargeback, but I'm going to have to sue civilly for a lot of that. I mean, it was, about 10 grand all said and done that they're still holding on to.
And EBT, no, Kem is not one of the thousands of arrests coming soon. That is involving Eric Clark, who is one of the few people who's actually gained direct access to the government's J6 evidence. And he said that he saw that there was about 1,000 arrests upcoming based on that evidence. He'll be coming on in a bit to talk about that, allegedly. We'll see. But we'll get back to this. Hold on, let's walk through this whole because we hit on it briefly. But to me, the most fascinating part about this, they labeled you a sovereign citizen and then got you put on a domestic terrorist watch list as a result, which is that's crazy.
I know. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm still. That's honestly, I don't. That's hasn't been ruled on. The state didn't respond to my motion, which doesn't surprise me because there's not really much they could say. And so, yeah, I mean, kind of. I'm in a limbo with that case, but my long-term plan is to do another Freedom of Information request to find out what they said after the last one ended, because it took them almost 2 months to get me the information. And then they were still chattering, I'm sure, about me and whatever. And there were a couple other incidents and all that. So I'm in the process of getting that. And then I made no bones about it. I mean, I told Contreras he's going to be defending Contreras. I'm definitely, I mean, it's, who knows what money it is. Like a lot of the money that comes out of the suits are attorney's fees, which when you sue pro se, you really can't do attorney's fees. So it's definitely going to be more on principle and maybe some type of settlement, but that's not my main goal. Like I want them to be held accountable. And I basically, keep it real. I just want to put them through the same stress they put me through. I just want to be on the plaintiff side instead of the defendant.
Right. And it takes people holding them to account, which really isn't, I mean, I don't want to speak for you. I haven't done it myself. But looking into the courts and all that, it really isn't that challenging from my perspective to do it. It's about paperwork and time. But once you're willing to commit to that, it's actually pretty easy to keep them in check. Am I wrong about that?
I mean, I don't know about easy. I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know because I haven't done it. It's all theory to me.
Yeah.
In theory, yeah, like it looks pretty clear on paper. But I mean, there are so many little things I've learned too about Arizona, and it's opened my eyes to why. Like, I'm glad I only visited Arizona. I'm dealing with this because, like, I would not live here. Arizona is a corrupt state. I know a lot of them say that. Like, New York is too. I'm not saying it's the only one, but like the time that it got set up in the country, like basically they don't give you an attorney in Arizona for anything that they are not going to put you in jail for. So it's beyond just the civil side, like not giving you an attorney for traffic tickets, which, most places don't. When they're giving you like a civil infraction, you don't have a right to an attorney. But even in Arizona, if you have a criminal case, they do not give you representation. You are not guaranteed due process like the Constitution basically says. And they, what else? Oh, and they also don't give you a jury trial. You're not entitled to a jury trial in Arizona for criminal cases that don't meet a certain threshold. And that's not the case in every state. And the states where you get a jury trial and the system gets a little more bogged down when you decide to fight for your rights, they pick and choose who they're going to prosecute. But here, because they know basically no one's going to have representation, they can railroad even easier than anywhere else, especially with all the indigenous and like the reservations around here. Just the lower income, things like that. The people here, I get so many messages about how corrupt Yavapai, which is the county I'm in, how they grew up here. And it's not me, it's not new. And, they're literally scared of the sheriff department and police department out here because they just said they're ruthless.
Does that have to do with them having to watch the border? I wonder.
Like them having the border. I'm not even within 100 miles of it. There's not even, I'm not even in the Border Patrol zone. So I mean, and I thought about that a little bit, thinking about like Direct D and him being down there. But no, man, it's still wrong. Like, if what happened to me wasn't on video, I'd be in jail. Like, there'd be no question. I would have got my window busted. Any resistance, I would have got a physical resisting, not just a passive resisting. Like, it's what they've just done to people. And I mean, honestly, before phones, it was one thing. Now it's even with the video evidence, you have to really be able to be ready to go to war with these people if you're going to stand for your rights, which comes back around, to kind of the whole, it is one thing I do agree with old Polly Boy and all that is like no one is going to go out there and get your rights for you. If you aren't going to do it, then you don't deserve them. You're not, and really, we're at a point you're not going to get them because it's the meat grinder is on. So it's only going to get harder to get rights, I think, unless people, it's really a matter. Okay, so here's what it is. Even if the law is out there, if you don't know it and to stand on it, they're still going to run you over. That's what I'm trying to say. So as an individual, you can't even be like, oh, we got this right over here that people won for us. If you don't know about it and can challenge someone in real time on it, they're probably going to, even if you win in the long run, they're going to still give you a ticket and you're going to deal with stuff. And not talking about driving and stuff, just whatever, like the stuff Alphonse talks about and how, the property tax and things like that. And if you don't know about it, they're just going to run you over. But once you know, it's like a roadblock.
Yeah. I don't know what this, it seems Damsel Medic, you're going to have to, I don't know if you're getting what's happening here. He's representing himself, so he's not having somebody speak on his behalf. Challenging the jurisdiction is a great theory, though. Whatever. I mean, you haven't tried any motion challenging the jurisdiction, right?
I looked into it, and we talked about this a little bit. I've basically put on like Sovereign Citizen and Lock Talk with Mike, Old Squishy Gardener, all of the court dudes that are doing stuff, and I've seen a lot of Sovereign Citizens. And dude, on the jurisdiction, I'll be honest, man, I think it's a bunch of shit. I'm not buying it at all. Like, if jurisdiction is established from where you physically are and whoever you violated, it has no, and if they put you in the wrong jurisdiction and you challenge it, all they're going to do is move it into the right jurisdiction. So you're not going to I don't understand these people that think they get some get out of jail free card where they get to have no personal responsibility because they can go in and tie the court's hands. It's like, dude, if the court wasn't, this is, like it or not, the best justice system in the world. It is an adversarial system against both sides. It pushes both sides out, and you have to fight to get your information in, and it rejects bad evidence. I mean, that's what it's set up for. So jurisdiction is like from a day where a guy in Missouri is trying to sue a guy in Florida, and we didn't have the internet, we couldn't do it so easily. And now if one guy challenged jurisdiction, okay, yeah, maybe it would stall the case out for years while you figure stuff out. That's not going to happen nowadays. If you happen to be in the wrong jurisdiction, they're just going to move you into the right one and continue the case. And right. I've seen hundreds of these sovereign citizens, all with the same rap damn near, and not a single one of them has been respected by a judge. Not only that, but look, here's the bottom line. Courts don't move by words. Every sovereign citizen that thinks they're going to go in and I'm under special appearance, blah, blah, blah. Dude, the court doesn't even care about what you're saying. If it's not on paper, it didn't happen. And you can't challenge it unless it's during trial, and you can't challenge it in an appeal. The only thing you challenge are the motions you put in pre-trial and then the evidence presented at trial. That's what you appeal. So all your talking in front of the judge and not entering the well of the courtroom and all that, you'll buy a month, a year, whatever, but then you'll just end up with a warrant, and then you won't have internet access to be able to do your own pro se litigation and maybe win if you were, in the right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm enjoying this. It's stressful, but it's like working out. You hate it while you're doing it, but when you look back, you're like, damn, I really did benefit from that. So I just keep that mindset because, like, dude, this how you. It's every like this is all my criminal stuff, but everything revolves around your ability to enforce your rights in court and how like Alphonse talks about, if you're not working on how to file a complaint or how to move a complaint through the court, you're not even doing anything. You're literally wasting your time.
Right. Well, yeah, you have to know. And then, I mean, Alphonse kind of pushes the whole affidavits thing over motions, which I've
Yeah, I'm
talked
not
to.
into that.
Yeah. I think affidavits are a good supplement, but and that's I've heard that consistently. I mean,
Agreed.
affidavits
Well,
can't.
affidavit isn't evidence. An affidavit is basically you saying what you would say if you were under oath at trial. But you can't go to trial and present an affidavit and have that be evidence. Like, that's another thing that I really think. Now, if I do an affidavit on my motion, right? So that it basically is giving, I'm swearing under perjury. Like, I'm saying, if you find a problem with it, I'm willing to take the punishment for swearing as an affidavit, right? That gives your word that you're willing to testify more value in writing. But I can't go to a court and say, here's an affidavit that Truther Cop says I'm a good guy, or Truther Cop says I was with him on the night of the crime. No, if it
It has to
doesn't
be a
matter.
personal. It has to be a
Yeah,
personal affidavit, like your own
exactly.
thing, your own what you
You
believe.
have to show up. You as a person have to show up and say, I saw him. Unless like you're, immovable in a hospital and there's some weird, like the way courts work is real bodies have to show up and testify to what they actually saw or did or got harmed by. It's not the only reason things get settled beforehand is because you present your case so well on paper. Any good attorney knows it's a lesser risk to settle before than to go to trial. Like the whole course that we're taking teaches, if you go to trial, not in criminal, you're going to trial, on politics. But they're both enmeshed if you're going to protect your rights. They go hand in hand. One day you might have a civil case because your neighbor fucks with you. The next day, a cop fucks with you. You're still going to pursue the same type of, attack or defense. It's just the rules change a little bit. But basically in civil, if you go to trial, you did something wrong. If your case is good enough, you should have already won before you go to trial in the motions and the paperwork you file.
And Cricket Day, to clarify, the thumbnail is about J6 because another breaking story with Eric Clark is developing too. Yeah, Kem was not at J6 to my knowledge. I don't believe so, right?
No.
This has nothing to do with that. So, but it does. Both cases that I'm covering today do have to do with self-representation.
And the cops slandering people that try to hold them accountable. I mean, the J6, if you want to look at it from its completely, real, just exactly what it's presented as, it was just a large accountability, pushback. And again, I'm looking at it through a very narrow lens right now, not the big picture that we all probably know could happen. But that's the way that they're demonizing these people, is by saying, look, all these people are bad because they went and we don't like how they tried to hold the government accountable. And that's I mean, except for like maybe, if you want to get into breaking and entering, stuff like that, but like the 1,000 people that just got their phones swept up in some freaking stinger, thing or whatever, like, that's just people that are there. I mean, it's crazy that we're even talking about this, in my opinion. That's why it's like, man, if everybody doesn't figure out that they have to know to stand on their own rights, like, it's wild to me to learn that literally probably every auditor channel on YouTube, I'm not special. I believe there, except unless the sheriffs in your county and you're good with them, they probably do this to every auditor in every state. Arizona is just kind of a hotbed.
They got that rule. I don't know what it is about Arizona. I mean, they got all that. It's like rule or something. I'm not sure. It's just like nobody there. They feel like they can take advantage of people. They're not used to technology and being recorded all the time yet. It's probably one of the last places where body-worn cameras are being put into place.
I mean, I can think of it too, like, you know, my brain always goes big picture, and it's like Arizona's grown really fast. And so
Not
if you
yet,
grow
Rob.
fast, you got to hire a bunch of new cops, you know? Like, you're not going to have time to get, you know, if you did have a certain type of culture, if you just hire a bunch of new people because you got a bunch of new residents and a bunch of new cities, you know, that could also play into it. Like, it is a bunch of younger looking cops everywhere in Arizona too. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of, you know, 10, 20-year veterans out there. All of them seem to be in like the 2 to 5 year range.
Yeah, it has to do. I think that it must have something to do with the border. I don't know, because the border down there makes everybody more intense, even on American citizens or whatever you might say.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree in some. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Southern California for sure, down at the borders. You know, always sketchier, all the way through Texas. You know, there does have to be some type of heightened, I guess. You know, I mean, I'll be honest, man. I've never had problems with the illegals. Like, they're usually just trying to work and stay undercover and get out. It's like,
yeah, no, I'm not saying anything good or bad about them, but I think they make the police.
Yeah, I know. It's just the whole, like,
more intense.
It being the problem isn't really like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it may be a problem, but it's not a problem that takes like police dog, you know, killer militarized police to fix, is what I'm saying. Like, it's not like they're invading with, you know, violent intent the way they act. And then, like, what I'm saying is they take that mentality towards the people that are supposed to be illegal, but really that mentality gets turned against the citizens. You know what I mean? Because it's not, they just can't separate the two.
We got several people here right now. Danny Wayne was like Taylor Toronto, his right hand man. Good to see you in here. And Eric Clark will be on here about whenever, you know, 15, 30 minutes probably. Whenever Cam and I wrap up, and he's taking his time getting on here. I'm trying to keep up with the chat a little bit here, as we're keeping it somewhat on topic for once. Let's see.
Yeah, I haven't been looking.
I'm trying to keep it under control. It gets out of hand sometimes. It took the enemy many decades to get every system to the pitfall state that we're in. It's going to take years to fix it. It's going to take generations to fix. There's no doubt about that. So, man, there's so much to your story. So you don't talk about it much on your channel because I don't. You've made that point before.
So yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, they scared. I'm nervous to. Basically, they're using everything against me, not just what I do, but they're like taking comments other people made. They're saying I have a violent following. So if I post anything, they're basically skewing it where I am intentionally trying to get people, which to call in and like, I mean, dude, okay. So one of the cops says he got a death threat. And so they like tried to put that in a motion so that because I'm trying to record my trial and they're saying they don't want it recorded because of that. And I pushed back saying I didn't believe that he got a death threat, that I believe all cops are walking death threats, that the motto of every police department is comply or die. I mean, I put all of this in the motion. I'm like, and then I also got information that he cheats on his wife openly and doesn't take care of his kids. Well, actually, his wife emailed me and said that, but I didn't tell the court it was his wife. I just said it was a close associate. And so I said, no wonder he doesn't want to be on film because, you know, this is the kind of person he is. And he already got flack from being on film last time. And so that's kind of like, that's what you can do as a pro se, right? That you can't do as a regular attorney. Like, the other thing that we kind of talked about that I thought people would find interesting is and this is again being innocent. You know, if you rob a bank, this isn't necessarily the tactic, and you get caught, you're going to take. But I file motions to argue my case before the trial. Now, basically, what I've done is put in front of the judge everything I want him to see in one way or another. I mean, I filed, I think, close to 10 motions. So, I mean, I've had plenty of paperwork to fit stuff in. And even though he can't, in his ruling, be like, yeah, I remember I read this in this motion, and that's why I'm saying it. He can only do it on the facts. I've been able to get everything I want him to know in front of him, but now I don't have to testify still. Like, that's my goal, is I don't want to be cross-examined. I don't want to deal with that. But I have a story that I want to tell. And I can't do it just through asking the people that are against me questions, you know? So, like, that's really, you know, my strategy. I didn't really get told it by anyone, but it's just kind of naturally happened. And as I got into this deeper, and as they would counter it, I'd be like, oh, I missed that point. So I'd have to, you know, elaborate on that a little more. And then I realized, like, damn, I've laid my whole case out now. And then just seeing how the judge reacts to me, saying little things like, oh, I know exactly where you're going with this. When I start to say something in court, he'll kind of stop me, be like, don't worry, I know exactly where you're going. It's like, well, I know he does, because he's read everything. And so unless he's going to okey doke me, well,
that's the one mistake that the judge kind of made, is what you were saying, is he agreed with you too much too soon.
A little bit, yeah. but not in a but not in an unfair way. It's not like we're old drinking buddies, you know what I mean? It's just I'll be honest, dude, he's just one of those people that you look at and you know, yeah, this guy is a fair dude taking his job seriously. He doesn't look like he's egotistical. You know, he's not old and cranky. Like, yeah, it's just, I was like, yeah, man, I did a little research on him beforehand. Like, I just called around to attorneys and asked if they had been in front of him, and I learned that he was a defense attorney that is a new judge and hasn't had many trials. And so I went into it knowing that, but I also was like a little nervous, because I'm like, oh, well, if he was just an attorney, he may still be friends with some of these people, you know, whatever. I was really, you know, paranoid. Also, I was paranoid about getting, you know, just ran through the system, the old freaking old boys club, where they're like, yeah, this guy pissed us off, do what you need to do to find him guilty. And it's like, done, you know, they make it happen. And I'm confident that's not the case at all, but I definitely was worried about that.
Yeah. In Troll Central, I don't know where Troll Central, I thought, was kind of like against like sovereign citizens or whatever. He's kind of speaking like, you know, steel manning the sovereign citizen argument. You are literally asking the judge to decide that's giving him jurisdiction, LOL. But it's some, you know, we all have to live with one another. So I don't know. Like, what is your response to that? Like, it is nice to have a fair and impartial judge in theory.
Okay.
And obviously that doesn't always work out.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I was, you know, in my other case, which we don't even need to talk about today, the trespassing one, there's some interesting stuff with that. And that gets into like Arizona really just being anti-First Amendment. That judge recused herself after I filed motions calling her out. And I didn't even need to challenge her jurisdiction. But I knew that she was going to be unfair. So I definitely didn't want her as a judge. But I got her to recuse herself because she basically gave up that she knew a little knowledge about the case beforehand. And so I just kind of harped on that. I can get into that later. I don't want to like digress into that. But this is what I'd say on the jurisdiction thing. Again, I said it earlier. Okay, let's say I went in and I did the sovereign thing and I didn't say anything. And I don't give them jurisdiction. Okay, I have 7 charges ranging, you know, disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, failing to ID, all misdemeanors. What happens to those? You think if I go in and they don't get jurisdiction, what they'll do is say, okay, well, you're not speaking, so I'm going to enter a plea of not guilty. And if you go to your trial and you don't speak, they're going to take whatever the prosecutor presents as facts, and you're going to be found guilty. And if you don't show up or you don't speak, you're still going to be found guilty. And then when you don't show up even to court, they're going to put a warrant out for you. And then they're going to cuff you. And unless you move to another state and run state to state, like O'Shea talks about doing, you're like, it never goes away. And so I guess I'm just like, what's the point? Where are you getting at? So you don't want me to give them jurisdiction, and you think it just stops?
If you
Like,
what you're kind what's that made by Jim Bob? What you're kind of saying is that if you don't assume the jurisdiction yourself, they'll assume it for you.
exactly. In criminal court, in civil court, they'll just dismiss your case and you won't be able to pursue. Yeah. In civil court, if you challenge this jurisdiction, or if you don't establish jurisdiction in your original complaint, that's a reason for it to be dismissed on its face.
Mm-hmm.
But criminal, it doesn't matter, man. You can be deaf and mute and sit there, and you're still going to be found guilty. And if you so if you challenge jurisdiction and say, hey, this is the wrong court, we're in this court, we're in this municipal court, we should be in this justice court. Okay, see you next month in the justice court. You're right. Motion granted. Done. Like, it's not, they play this like, oh, your body, your vessel, maritime law.
Right.
And dude, I have not seen one person, not one, and hundreds of hours, dude, at this point that I've listened and got research. I mean, yeah, of course, when I first started, I looked down that road. Seems like, but it's all it is, dude. It's literally a bunch of broke people that don't want to take responsibility for their life. Show me one sovereign citizen that isn't in that boat.
Yeah, they don't want to take responsibility or accountability. Shout out to whoever.
And you get into the vehicle and driving, and it's like, okay. I mean, I even look at the definitions. I'll even agree with you. Go fight that in court. But just to not get a license, you're just inviting trouble. I mean, dude, before this incident, I didn't get pulled over for 15. I didn't even have cop interaction for 15 years, man. So basically, since I got out, like, it's not hard to not, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I also got in a lot of trouble back in the day. So I know it's easy to get in trouble when you're in that lifestyle. But when you're just doing your thing, honestly, I'm surprised this situation happened, because I'm not an auditor. Like, I'm getting thrust into this world, but like, I wasn't out there in the cops' faces before. Now I am, because I got a vendetta. Like, now I'm pissed, I see a cop, dude, I fucking reach for my phone. Like, there's nothing good to put up, but, that's how auditors get made. But like, before that, if you just want to live your life, most of the time you're not getting hassled. And in my opinion, if you are, it's, I've gotten hassled. I was a dick, maybe it wasn't all my fault, but like, I got a notice up to trim my weeds before, back when I had a house, and I thought it was stupid and I fucking hated it. But in hindsight, when I look back now, I'm like, yeah, I was like the only one that wasn't on top of my, yard. It's like, okay, yeah, it's fucking stupid. We shouldn't have all that hassle. And I could have fought it. I know, even, in hindsight, I could have fought it, and, but I guess I'm just, the older you get, you realize that there is a social contract, man. And if you're not going to abide by it, then somebody's going to push it on you. And we used to all carry guns and push it on each other. Nowadays, we've given that off to the police, but one way or another, if you're doing wrong and somebody needs to right it, it needs to get righted, and I didn't think the court systems were even as fair as they are. I mean, the jurisdictionary course really opened my eyes to why an adversarial justice system is actually the best one. And then
if you guys want to, shameless plug here. If you guys want to, sign up for jurisdictionary, winincourt.org. You sign up by that. It's my referral link, winincourt.org. It's $250 for the year. I just signed up again myself a couple months ago. I get a kickback if you sign up to that link. So,
but once you sign up, if you keep your subscription, it drops down to like $90 a year, though. So the $250 is just the first year. And then, if just for what it's worth, so it's not even like it's $250 every year.
Yeah, no, it's well worth. And again, we were talking about it last night. It's the only course.
There's nothing. Literally, there's not. We were talking. Yeah, I'm like, hey, do you know of anything like this? Like, what's the competitor to this course? Nothing. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's it's not like, it's a course. Just for what it's worth. It's not a magic pill.
You have to sit there and digest the information, man. and put it to
And
use.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, but it gives you such confidence, and then once I mean, I'm dealing with two different prosecutors right now, and it's kind of two ends of the spectrum. I can tell one of them, the one in the case we've been talking about mostly, is not very versed. She's a female, kind of your classic bitch prosecutor personality, and I can tell she's not very experienced. The other one I'm dealing with is an attorney that the county hires as like a private practice firm, but he's also their prosecutor. And dude, he hasn't missed anything. I haven't got away with shit with him. Like he's come back, and everything he said has pretty much been on point. It's just interesting though to know. Really, a lot of attorneys don't know what they're doing. The first prosecutor, I'm sure that they're just getting told by their boss, oh, go do this. They're just in training, basically. Like, so what I'm getting at is this course, essentially, you aren't going to be able to recall the case law and, a lot of the standard jurisprudence things that lawyers learn. But, dude, you're going to be able to litigate in 6 months instead of 7 years. Like, that's the difference. You can go learn the case law afterwards. But you can literally litigate pretty much as well as a beginning attorney after this course.
Yeah.
And that's not hyperbole. I mean, I guess you at least need an average IQ. I'm not going to say like someone with an 80 IQ could get out there and do it, but no hate. But yeah, I mean, it is a little intense, but you don't need to be a genius, and you don't need to be some wordsmith, and like that's what I'm getting at.
Well, I think he says anyone with a 5th grade education, I believe, is the what he says.
I think he says 8th.
8th.
But
oh
yeah,
it might be. So Eric Clark is ready to come up at any moment.
Yeah, perfect.
So I don't know if you guys want to speak for a moment about, I kind of want to transition the floor to him and what he's talking about, but you're welcome to stay up here and chit chat with him.
So is this the guy that has this is the guy that says he is out because he challenged the jurisdiction and that's why he's not in jail?
No. So it might be the way I laid it out.
This is a different guy.
He's representing himself in court, and he's not in jail for the same charges that people have been locked up in DC for years.
But I thought you said, and I could totally be,
I could have misspoken.
Wires. But I thought it was because he challenged jurisdiction. Isn't there something about that? No. Okay, so he's just pro se.
It's possible. Yeah, he's also
like
not
me.
in
He's
DC.
basically just pro se. He's not a sovereign or like anything like that. He's really trying to fight it the way the courts fight, like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, he's
okay,
legit,
cool.
And he's keeping himself out of jail. He has for years. Somehow,
I was really curious about that. I guess I misunderstood, but I wanted to see that motion. But yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can leave me up and or whatever. I'm curious about anybody that's out there fighting in pro se. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you can pick something up.
He's got a spotty signal, this guy. What's up, man? No, let me hide him. He needs a moment. I'm gonna give you a moment. All right. Yeah. No, I got some of his paperwork. We got a protective order up here. It's the same that Toronto was having to sign. But the interesting thing about Eric Clark is he's one of the only he's the only J6er that I know that didn't sign the protective order, which would basically handicap him from being able to see the evidence without an attorney present. He's able to see it directly, and he's saying that there are thousands of pending arrests on January 6th. Based on what he saw. How's it going, man?
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Yep. So you finally took a look at the evidence last week.
I did. So yeah, my name is Eric. I'm a pro se January 6th defendant, and yeah, I just got access to the an hour when everybody's talking about. It's larger than that now because as something is requested by a defense attorney or a pro se litigant, it's added to that database. But I just say that to say it's not the 40 to 60,000 hour thing that McCarthy's granting people access to. It's different. Like I go view mine at the paralegal's office at evidence.com in a database that's been set up.
Is there any way, Eric?
Yep.
Can you move closer to the router? You're real like today. It's dropping out way more than like last time, like very frequently. Yeah, he has direct access to the evidence, which isn't allowed by most J6 defendants. It's their attorneys that tell them what the evidence says. They don't have direct access. He finally has direct access. Allegedly, we can't prove it because the government won't allow him to take photos and evidence. But as far as I can tell, he's 100% legit. He's got documents upon documents and Pacer, And as far as I know, he's telling the truth here. You did freeze now, see. And the government shuts down his signal the moment he's trying to drop some information. I'm going to kick you. Come back because you're like totally frozen now.
I thought he was patiently listening.
No, it's like frozen. That link still works in the text there.
Oh man, Enslaved by Truth's putting a bounty out on me now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Where at? And Danny Wayne, if you want to come up later and talk about Taylor and all that, please feel free. Eric and I and Kem, we've been talking for like the last day about getting on this show, but obviously, Danny, whenever, if you're available in like an hour or so, whenever, Eric covers what he's got to cover, we'd be happy to get into that. Let me see. Yeah, well, do you understand what I'm saying about like how so all the J6 evidence is like restricted by the lawyers, and the defendants sitting in prison have like zero access to it, except for through their lawyer, and most lawyers won't even let them see it.
What I find odd though is there's a lot of law that says if you are representing yourself that you have access to it. Like, not saying J6, and I'm not saying the feds. Like again, I'm just saying like from me representing myself and how they treat you. They treat me as if I'm, I am my own attorney. In other words, I couldn't talk to the prosecutor. I couldn't even email the prosecutor. I couldn't file motions. There's a lot of things that you don't do if you have an attorney. But once you're pro se, if you're representing yourself with, dignity, but if you're not being playing with the court, I just haven't had any issues. But again, my case is in federal and it's not, terrorism thing. Like I get that there's got to be security measures. But I do know that the law says like, if you are pro se, you have, if you don't get access to the evidence in discovery, then you've essentially like, that's a way to win your case right there. I mean, that's an ethical violation that you could win on appeal. So it seems odd that they could think they could conduct a trial without disclosing the evidence people are requesting.
That's what they do with people who are represented. And yeah, it's a good idea to keep your camera off. I didn't even think about that, but go for it, man.
Yeah, and I use my PC too. Like I haven't bought me a new webcam yet for my PC. I need to do that. It's probably better anyway for now. But yeah, so what y'all were touching on there was like why I don't have access, why it's been so difficult to get access to something as simple as discovery. So what it is they have placed what is it called? Security clearances on the discovery because a lot of the CCTV footage is in the Capitol building. And if there's one thing in all that footage that they consider highly sensitive or sensitive, and it's included in the entire database, they just put the entire database under this protective order, right? So now if I were to sign this protective order, I could have better access. I would have had access long ago had I agreed to sign it. In a way, not really though, because this particular protective order is different than most of them that you sign. It doesn't just ask you not to reveal anything that's in it to the general public. It has a through counsel provision that takes your discovery, right, your rights to discovery, and hands them off to your defense counsel. Now, being I'm pro se, right, because there are 1,200 defendants so far in this case, with a lot more arrests to come from what it looks like I'm seeing in the database, but that's what we'll get to. So if you go pro se, what they're doing is, there are rare cases where a pro se defendant requests what's called standby counsel, right? Somebody there to sort of help assist. So you're familiar with that. And there are even rarer cases where the government forces a standby counsel upon a pro se litigant. So that's the situation we're in. Because of this through counsel provision within the protective order, every person that goes pro se in a January 6th trial is forced to have a standby counsel, so they can force you to sign the protective order because of the national security classification, and then hand off you sign it, and it effectively waives your rights to discovery and hands it into the standby counsel. So what I had to do was, because I'm indigent, right, that helped. You can do it if you're not. You can pay the people yourself, but because I'm indigent, I found a litigation service. It's all just paralegals and investigators, right? And I forced the courts to pay for my litigation services with CJA funds, right? So I have the standby counsel that tries at every turn to derail my case and doesn't file motions I ask and all these things, right? Because I can file my own motions, but I have to do it in this situation. They're making us do it either by mail or in person, and only the standby counsel can do it through the electronic format, right? You know, the ECM, the electronic, the filing database, whatever it is. I used to remember what it was called because I spent, about a month studying that, how you file motions, right? Before I decided to go pro se. It was a year in them building this database, and they gave me a public defender, and I didn't see any point. I thought it would be more prudent to take advantage of that year and learn a bit more about how you defend yourself in court, as opposed to just going pro se straight out the gate. And I think it was more beneficial, but I could tell out the bat that he was not on my team. So yeah, last week I was able to go in and sit down with this paralegal for the first time. They've got access to the full database from their office. I can go sit there and view it because they have signed the protective order, and it's my litigation team. It's as if I were a defense attorney and these are my paralegals, right? So I'm able to go sit in their offices and view this. But if I leave with data and post it online, then I jeopardize their career, not my own, because they've signed this protective order. That said, I can speak about anything. I just can't leave with data. So what I say when I say there's probably at least 1,000 more arrests coming, there's this file in the database. It's called baseball. And if you're not familiar with what baseball is, it is the FBI's facial recognition software. It's named baseball. And then if you go into baseball and you search baseball card, it pulls up a list of nearly 3,000 people. And it's like pictures. And under each picture, it designates a number. And you go down past the cards, right? And it has a legend. And every number corresponds with a name. Within those approximately 3,000 names are the 1,200 defendants that have so far been arrested. So I think we can fairly assume those other 1,800 are people that are still getting their warrants together, getting ready, spreading this out as long as they can, so that this political theater wasn't just a bunch, 3,000 arrests back in February, March, April, and May of 2021. They've been able to spread. They've been arresting people a few a week, a dozen a week, ever since January 6th, right? Like there were more arrests last week, and this is because the statute of limitations, right, for this is good until 2026, and the longer they can spread it out, the more they can keep saying on CNN violent insurrection, when really all it was staged political theater event.
Right. Crazy.
So that being said, right, I know that leaves, I say 1,200 arrested, about 3,000 names in there. So you're thinking, oh, maybe it's closer to 1,800 people they're still looking for. I'm looking at that as they've probably identified some of their own crisis actors, confidential human sources, and what have you of that nature, because it's not like they went through and just said, here, identify this person, here, identify this person. No, they feed the footage into the software, and the software kicks out the cards, right?
So you're
saying,
yeah. Go ahead.
Go for it. No, go for it.
I was just going to say, yeah, I thought they were doing it more off of the cell data, but you're saying also they're using facial recognition, and so even if you didn't have a phone on, they're trying to sweep people up. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely, and they're also pinging. They're using the pings off of cell phones as well. And I only had about 3 hours with my paralegal the first time we met. We're meeting again August 22nd, and from there we'll start meeting 2 or 3 times a week for 4 to 8 hours a day, and maybe longer, right? Depending on what I can, finesse the judge out of in more CJA funds, because eventually I've got 6 months between now and trial, and they've only approved like 40 hours worth of it, right? And I'm going to need a lot more than that to go through 80,000 video files and 5.9 million pages of documents.
Yeah, and you were saying, I mean, basically, this needs to be crowdsourced to have any effective impact, especially from your perspective of, you said there's 80,000, what is it, 80,000 videos? And
yeah, 80,000 video files and 5.1 million pages of documents. Some of the video files are 10, 13 seconds. Some of them are 10, 12 hours, right?
What's your actual charge?
So I've got 4 charges, all misdemeanors, right? And normally federal court just kind of doesn't even charge misdemeanors, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
I didn't know they even did.
Right. So I've got 4 misdemeanors. There are 2 violent entry of a federal building and 2 unauthorized entry of the Capitol building. The first 2 are under 18 USC, and the last 2 are under 40 USC. The interesting thing about 18 USC is the Constitution requires a statute to be signed under quorum, or 2/3 majority, in order for it to be considered law, and this particular statute was not.
Yeah, and I mean, so just from the defense side, and the first thing I know you probably know this, but I'm just saying it for the audience. Looking at the actual, what they actually charge you with, to know like what intent does it take intent. I mean, if it takes intent, almost, that's very hard for them to prove. And then, the other part, dang. The jury instructions. So finding the jury instructions for these charges to see like what they would actually have to show you did to be guilty of those things.
So I've been fortunate to sit and study with a guy named Professor David Clements on occasion, right? Just kind of study general law, and he was going over what you're talking about. I haven't dug real deep into it yet because I have to make. Right now, I'm in the period where arraignment part is over, right? I went through the magistrate part, I went through the arraignment part, and now I'm in the pretrial part, right? So they just set a trial date last week for January 8th. We have pre-trial conference December 19th, where we'll set jury rules, we'll determine what they have to prove, and I'm asking for intent, right? I mean, not necessarily will the judge grant that, but I'm asking them to prove both intent and to show me the victim, right? To present a victim and show me intent, because there's no intent. I went there to watch the president's speech. I didn't even know we were going to the Capitol, and for the life of me, I can't figure out who I victimized.
Well, you gotta, just for what it's worth, you gotta be careful, because even when you say things like "when I went to the Capitol," I mean, unless they like have video of you there, but like that's
they have a lot. Yeah, there's plenty of it, man.
So you're not denying you went even in the Capitol?
No,
you're just saying you didn't do it with violent intent.
I'm saying I didn't do it with violent intent. I went through open doors, not doors that I forced open, that the Capitol Police in the building weren't asking us to leave, and that overall this was all entrapment, right? That there were 300 to 500 people already there when I arrived, and I was one of the first people there after Trump finished speaking, because God had put it in my heart to stay at the front. Where I was positioned watching the speech was directly across the street from the ellipse, right? And I was watching on this big Jumbotron type deal, so I was very close to the front row and able to just start moving towards the Capitol as soon as Donald Trump said, we're going to peacefully and patriotically march to the U.S. Capitol. It took me about 20 to 25 minutes to get there, where it maybe took your average speed walker 40 to 45 minutes. Your older people and people that had their girlfriend was there with them in maybe Hills, closer to an hour and a half to get there. And a lot of people were older and went back to their rooms or their cars and went back to their home states or the planes and went back. They had a scheduled. This was a scheduled thing for them. They were just in DC for the day, not the week like I was.
Yeah, and this is like I'm kind of scrolling through the photos here of him on different video feeds. All he was there. He's happy to say that. And after it was staged, right? After the whole insurrection was staged, that's what people don't. I see no diggities in here under a sock. The thing is with this whole staging thing, left or the right, guys, the same thing could happen to the left.
Well, isn't that every BLM riot?
It does happen.
They just aren't prosecuting them.
So let me tell you this, right? I live in Louisville, Kentucky, where Breonna Taylor was tragically, shot by the police, what have you, right? Whatever you feel about this situation, right? So the protesters on the ground that agreed with the whole Breonna Taylor mess, that the cops were wrong or what have you, and were protesting in the streets here in 2020 in Louisville, Kentucky, we only got 2 days of violence, unlike 2 months, a whole year, like a lot of major cities, because the people protesting on the ground recognized that there were agent provocateurs coming in on all these buses from out of town. And as the buses, after the second day, a man named David McAtee was shot. There was just some dude who had a grill, right? A big grill and a big tent on an empty lot on the corner of Magazine and Broadway. He'd been doing it since I was young, right? I lived right behind this dude at one point. So he'd been doing this at least 15 years. His niece was fired at with rubber pellets and pepper spray just for being silly out there around the National Guard, right? And she ran towards his tent, and he comes outside, pops a few rounds off in the air, and the National Guard kill him. So after that event, and they recognized that these agent provocateurs that were getting off these buses seemed to be the one starting any fires, throwing the first bricks through windows so that the crowd would then go in and loot, right? They were all coming off these buses, so they stopped the buses as soon as they arrived and was like, no, this is our city. This is our city. Your BLM organization ain't even giving no money, period, to the Breonna Taylor family, and you in here just causing shit. Get out of our city. They came back like in 2021. COVID was still sort of going on after J6. They came in to like the Kentucky Derby. It was closed in 2020 because of COVID. We reopened the Derby in 2021, and that NFAC faction of them, those people that keep shooting themselves, right? The black militia that seems to keep shooting themselves everywhere they go. One of them shot themselves in the leg in the park staging on Derby Day, as a matter of fact. They get up and they lay down all lined out in a prone position, having their rifles aimed at all the police there because of the protests going on around Derby. So all the protesters, the Breonna Taylor family, the people from Shepherd Square, they came and lined up and built a human wall between that NFAC and the police and told them, get out of our city. We don't need you causing trouble in our city. And you know what? So the people of my city mostly recognize that these agent provocateurs, it's the same people that appeared, right? Like, so Bill Keene is one of these people. This guy, William Keene, he was present where Ashley Babbitt was shot, videotaping it. And in 2020, he was also present at Mitch McConnell's house on the day that coincidentally McConnell's and Pelosi's house both got vandalized, right? They both coincidentally just get their houses vandalized on the same day. And this guy's coincidentally both there and at the Ashley Babbitt shooting. I find that to be too much coincidence.
And see, we have a lot, I have a diverse audience here. And somehow we're still working through the process that, yes, the original insurrection was staged. Did Trump stage it? I don't know. Who knows? It is staged. Go watch Woo's News' video about the original insurrection while Trump is still giving the speech 45 minutes to an hour before anybody marches down. Very clear fakery afoot. And then people followed in, like Eric here or Guy Fawkes, and they, had different intentions. Eric said that he was led by God there, and to me, I think that he was there to witness what was happening. Because, do you want to walk through? You bumped into Ray Epps, who, you explain that scene again. So you're walking up into the front of the Capitol, and you bump into the guy.
Yeah, when I first get down to the Capitol building, there's about 300 to 500 people. There's no barricades, no fencing. I'm one of the first to arrive. There's 3 to 5 people all the way up to the top of the bottom ground level of the Capitol steps. A line of protesters and police, right? All people already up on that tower, people already climbing it. Things had obviously already been going on, but God had put it on my heart to be at the front. Like TC said, I wasn't there because I believe the 2020 election was stolen. I know that all our elections for a very long time are just fake, right? They're fake. And I don't say that as just somebody on the outside looking in. I say that as an election officer, as a poll worker. I see it firsthand every primary, every midterm, every election that I've worked thus far. The security measures are lessened and lessened. So I didn't go because of the election like a lot of people did. I went because God put it on my heart. I'd never been to a Trump speech or political rally or political activist type event prior to this. And so I get there, I get all the way up to the top of the Capitol steps, and I yell out, "Hoorah," real loud. It's like a Marine Corps thing. And Mr. Epps comes over to me, and he bends down, and he says, "Semper Fidelis, Devil Dog, we got to hold the crowd back a little bit longer, or they're going to fuck up the plan." And it's approximately 1 hour later, when the police line pulled back and let everyone through, that Ray Epps is marching off. And his march off, he gets a text from his nephew, I guess checking on his uncle, knew he was there. And Ray said, text back to his nephew, "I was in the very front. I orchestrated it all." So he tells me he's got a plan. An hour later, he's talking about I orchestrated it all to his nephew. If you read his deposition to the January 6th committee, he says he knew that there were going to be, he had a feeling, he had a gut instinct that there were going to be pipe bombs there because he bought all these medical supplies and took them, and they asked him, "Why'd you bring that?" And that was his response. "Oh, well, I would heard rumors that there might be like pipe bombs or something going off on side streets." So this is in his deposition to the January 6th committee. Tell me the man didn't know some more in advance than what he should have. He most certainly did. And he pulled 3 people or 2, one guy up out of the crowd that grabbed 2 more. So a total of 3. He whispers something to this guy. And at that moment, that's right before the Capitol Police just pulled back and let everybody come through. I guess they've been given that order on the radio to pull back. And those 3 guys make a beeline directly to this hatch, 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot, maybe 4 foot by 4 foot, 3.5 foot. Anyway, it's a concrete block structure, and they pull a bunch of siege weapons out of it. It's a tunnel with wet wall access to the building. There is absolutely no way that security protocol, with 90% of our government inside this building, would just leave access to the building's wet wall unlocked from the outside. And so protesters can just go open it up and start pulling things out of it.
And again, we have a lot of leftists in here. Leftists, whatever they would identify as this, I believe. And they just don't get the whole, how could we even be having this discussion? You try to interrupt a blah, 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 the just and fair election results. They still don't realize that what we're pointing out here is that it's all corrupt. It's all controlled. It's contrived, and it could happen to anyone. And if you don't identify when it happens to someone else, you won't identify when it happens to yourself. And we have a super leftist here. I saw him here. I'm just teasing you. Where did he go? Benton. I was going to call him out. He said there was no way you could get me. You saying there's no way you could get me in the Capitol. Where did it go, Benton? I was going to tease you. There we go. I don't care if it was staged. You would have never got me within a mile of the Capitol that day for $1 million. But it does matter that it was staged. The insurrection was staged. And we need to identify that. Maybe that's what it takes for people to get out of the streets and stop protesting. I don't know. To me, I would never go in the streets. I would stay, use the courts or something.
Put it on paper.
Put it on paper. Yeah, put it on paper. Get it in
That's
the
what
courts.
matters. It really, if it's going to matter at all, I think protests are good for maybe networking, not even like a protest, but you know what I mean? Like if you're in that layer, I agree with Benton. I would never have been near it at all either. But I mean, a lot of people that are just in that like cheerleader mode, you know, if they're really believing in it, I don't know if they're ever going to not do it, but like it doesn't matter how many people gather if there's nothing that comes out of it that's on paper. I mean, it's an old saying, but if it's not on paper, it doesn't matter. It didn't happen.
Yeah. And Al's saying here, so Trump staged the whole thing and lied to everyone. I don't know. It's a possibility.
Maybe Al. It seems more likely to me that they're using this against Trump, not for him. Like that's just an outside view looking in. I don't have any evidence to say that it was Trump that set this up, or that it was Pelosi, or people within the Capitol Police, or three-letter agencies, right? Which is far more likely than any of it. It's three-letter agencies set this up because they're really the ones that run the show.
I mean, what event can you say we can point to who set it up? Like, there's not one that we could say, oh yeah, we figured out who did it. You know, we all know okay, what, from 9/11 to Captain Hook to, McVeigh, maybe to the riots and bricks being, pallets of bricks being dropped back in the day, crates of Mac 10s and crack being left in the ghetto. Like, we always kind of can, but nobody's ever put a finger and said, yeah, we caught these people doing it. Here's the report. Here's the plan that, shows like, I mean, that's just what I'd say. It's clearly not real. But does it matter who set it up? I don't think it does. I think we need to realize that people are setting anything up.
Yeah, we need to identify the facts of the situation. And people keep asking me for proof. I've laid out the proof 1,000 times on here with the Woo's News documentary. Oh, it's just one man's opinion. Go watch that documentary and tell me it wasn't staged. The initial insurrection was a bunch of actors. And then a bunch of people followed in not knowing what they were getting involved in. And they weren't told, hey, you're not allowed here. They weren't told any of that. So they just walked into this scene and now they're getting charged. Oh, you trespassed. But they didn't know. They had no idea. Now, again, this is why I say you got to stand alone. I wouldn't be looking at governments. I wouldn't be looking at groups of people. I wouldn't stand behind a president or whatever, But this is what happened. We need to look at the facts and identify what actually happened to really get what's going on here.
And I agree. And let me just say, I'm probably a little bit more left than what people think. I spent 25 years of my life an addict telling everybody that this system was rigged. Obama was one of the few presidents I did support prior to all this. Not that I still do, right? I've woke up a little bit more now. But I've seen firsthand, I've been arrested more than 30 times, right? I've seen firsthand how me as a junkie, 25 years in addiction, 5.5 years sober now, more than 30 arrests, I always was out of jail the next day in this city, where the brother sitting next to me might have to stay 2 or 3 months for a child support charge, but I just got let out for counterfeiting $10,000 checks, right? That doesn't really seem right to me. Anytime I've been in that jail, it was predominantly black. I'm not saying that the left doesn't have some good points on some key issues that we as Americans need to address. But a lot of times things get blown way out of proportion. They let any single little cause, regardless of how relevant it really is to the major population of America, get mixed in and it all just mashed together. So you're trying to fight for things that are legitimate, while at the same time you're trying to fight for things that are just made up and part of a psychological operation played on you by three-letter agencies. That's right. And it all gets mixed together, and it happens on both sides, and we all look like idiots at the end of the day. But really, we're just not given all the information, right? Really, we the people, both the people on the left and the right, are far smarter than these group of bureaucrats within three-letter agencies that run this nation and most of the world. We just don't have all the information like they do. If we had all the information, they wouldn't have a chance at doing the things that they get away with.
Back in the basement says, why aren't attorneys proving it was staged if that was the case? Are you discrediting every single defense attorney that has represented Jay Sixer by such a statement?
Absolutely.
Every attorney is politically aligned with the bar. They're going to agree with the judge. They're going to be politically motivated to some extent, and they're not going to push back against the main narrative if it's going to piss off the judge they have to work with for the next 20, 30 years. Even if you're paying them.
I don't hear. I'm sorry. I don't even know your name, but I don't. He's not even saying that his angle is to challenge that it was a fake event. Like, you will be deemed a conspiracy theorist, lunatic, and yeah, like you. I don't even know what.
Let me rebut. Let me rebut, because that is exactly my defense: is that this was all staged, right? That is exactly the defense I plan on going forward with, right alongside with the fact that I didn't do anything wrong. I walked into a building through doors that were open, and I left when I was told to leave by the people with authority over that door. That while at the same time, I noticed very clearly that it was all staged. I engaged with some of the crisis actors directly, like Ray Epps and Elizabeth of Knoxville, right? I know that it was staged, so I have to present that case in court.
Okay, can I just give you my 2 cents as someone who's gone through a couple of juries?
Yeah, but in advance, let me make it clear that I already know that I'm not going to win. I'm going to get the maximum sentence, 3 years, a year for each of the 18 USC charges, 6 months for each of the 40 USC charges. They're going to run it consecutively. Judge made it clear with his funny little threat when I first went pro se after my Feretta hearing. He was like, well, you're going to get the pro se bonus, and I can run these consecutive, right?
Yeah, and I mean, federal judges are dicks, but I mean, for what it's worth, federal prison camp's pretty sweet. Just throw that out there if you have to do time. But I could also just see you getting supervised release. You're probably going to get a fine and 3 years supervised release, because they don't want to clog. There's too many people for them to clog the system up. They'd rather, when you're on supervised release, like, they may put you in a halfway house. That way they can take 25% of your income while you're in there. Like, so just for what it's worth, like, even if you think you're going to be guilty and you do want, like, I would just do a motion to get a halfway house then as your sentence. But just on juries, the old saying, a jury is 12 people of average ignorance. I don't see you being able to gather 12 people that you could, even if it was laid out perfectly, show them that it was a staged event. But I do absolutely believe you could get 12 people to believe that, to understand that's public property. You were there with genuine intent and not violent. I mean, that is really what I heard that you need to prove. You don't need to prove it was a staged event. You just need to prove you weren't there with violence and you didn't break anything to enter. And maybe you'll still get found guilty. But just for what it's worth, even if you had all the evidence, man, people are too brainwashed. You will never get 12 people in the course of a trial time to see. Like, I think that's more like spiritual discernment that you have to see through these events. Like, I really don't. I just throw that out there for, the stranger on the internet giving you advice you didn't ask for.
No, I get it, Kim, before the storm. My whole strategy is a bit odd, though. My strategy is just to get this case into the Supreme Court. I'm not going to win a trial in D.C., right? That's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I'm going to get sentenced, and whatever they do, and I'll send it to the appellate court, and it'll get thrown out because it's the exact same judges that run the appellate court in D.C. that run the federal circuit court. So it's the same judges it'll go before. They're not going to overthrow their own decisions. It'll go to the Supreme Court. And if I've got a case where I've at least attempted to subpoena all the people involved, like the Ray Epps, the Tariq Johnson, the Yolanda Pittman, and ask them the real questions that both people on both sides of the aisle would ask and want to know, right, about what really went on. The questions are all put on record, and when this goes before the Supreme Court, maybe when that decision comes out, it means more because it's more public. people see it, right? And if the Supreme Court rules in my favor, and I've been saying that this was all staged by three-letter agencies who have been doing this at events all over our nation, coming to a city near you if it hadn't already been there, then maybe people will wake up just a little bit more. I mean, my daughter was high all the way left when I went to the Capitol on January 6th. In the weeks following January 6th, she was the first tipster to contact the FBI and let them know her dad was there. Even though I raised her as a single parent, and when I was a criminal, she was the first person to say, "That ain't my dad, that's my Uncle Timmy," if the police were looking for me and I had a warrant, right? So today, my daughter is far more centered. She's not a Trump supporter like me, but she's not a Biden supporter either. She, instead of telling people you can't play gospel music in her house, she goes to church and is trying to learn more about God, whether you agree with that or not. She's at a point in her life where she is confronting some of her liberal viewpoints that she has seen as that she's finding out might be wrong, and some of the conservative viewpoints that she's seen might be right. She's in that process of becoming who she is. You know, she's a 26-year-old young woman, a highly responsible young woman, has 3 kids, my grandkids, and she is like one of the best moms, hardest working people you'll ever know. She's a straight A student, and I mean, this is a liberal, right? They're just like me and you if you're a conservative, right? We're all really the same at our core. We just have to not allow, it's like Woo's video, right? He's got the evidence straight on. He's hit it on the nose with the evidence that he has presented. I'm not too sure about the narrative that he frames it with, but it's a very convincing narrative, especially with the quality and the production value and the genius put into it, right? He really expresses his views on what he thinks this evidence means very well. And some places I agree, some places I disagree. I think those people that have infiltrated this protest, these 3-letter agencies down there, were also infiltrated themselves, because it has come out in recent filings that special forces out of several armed forces branches were also present and active on like some sort of mission on that day, like through things that within discovery that TPC or Steve Baker has recently found. So that says to me, and what I thought on the ground, like my intuition said, this has been infiltrated. The infiltration's been infiltrated. Everything's going to be okay. Just stay in the front like God told you. Right. And I believe that they intended this to be a 9/11 Pearl Harbor type event with 400 to 4,000 kind of deaths, not 4.
And well, and dude, if God called you to be at the front, for sure, dude. Like, you're here telling us something nobody else is saying. You have access to the database that nobody else has access to that I know of or am aware of. They can come and speak on it without, their attorney shutting them down or something. So by representing yourself, you do have more freedom here somehow. We're already hitting at that topic. However, I do have to push back here. Trump had to have a part in setting people up here. I don't think he's any better than anyone else. Operation Warp Speed and all that, man. I am not a Trump fan at all after the way he ended his thing. Like, so I do get that the left is pushing back the left. Okay, I'll pretend like you guys aren't leftists in the chat here. The left is pushing back against Trump. I don't like Trump anymore. Like, he's in it for himself at this point. There's no getting around that.
I'm a mixed
All
bag.
politicians are actors to me. I don't. It doesn't even enter my radar anymore. I left or right. They're all. It's a political theater.
Look, I still want to have hope
opinion.
that we've got a modern day John F. Kennedy that's going to shatter these agencies into a million little pieces. And I still want to believe that that's Donald Trump. Pardon me for being that person. I still do, though, right? But I also realize that there's a very real possibility that I could be wrong and he's just another deep state actor playing a role, playing all the world's a stage, and it's just more political theater. I'm open to that very real possibility, but I would prefer just remain hopeful. For one, he's the only person that said he's going to pardon me if he gets the presidency back. And that presidential pardon would do great things for my record, because I spent 25 years as an addict and amassed more than 30 arrests. And that complicates life at times, and it would be great to have all that gone. And he's the only one promising me that, so I got kind of personal skin in the game there. But
wait, you're not saying it seems odd to me. Why would he pardon you from, like, I could see pardoning all of the J6 people from the J6 charges, but you're talking like because he's going to pardon those charges, he would pardon your entire criminal record. Why would that be the case?
That's the way a presidential pardon works. It's not the same as like your governor's pardon or what have you. A presidential pardon is it sort of seals and expunges your entire record.
Interesting.
Gee, are you referring to the awfully hot coffee pot? Because that was a terrible rhyme. That Eminem song sucked. That was probably Eminem's worst performance. That's an awfully hot coffee pot. Should I drop it? Probably not. That is not rap. That is terrible.
I actually like the guy that mimics Eminem. If you've seen him on YouTube, he's actually really funny.
No, I haven't seen that guy.
Oh, I'll have to send you a link. Yeah, he's a comedian, and I guess he's doing other rappers now too. But yeah, I can't Jay something. It's pretty freaking hilarious. He's great. You'll get it. You'll love it.
Yeah. And Danny, if you're in here and you want to come on up, man. I've been wanting to talk to you. Danny is like Taylor Toronto. They were like, I don't want to lay out the claims. I don't want to say things on people's behalf. But they were tight down there in DC.
So that's what I was gonna say. Your court's in DC. I mean, that's got to be like the worst place to be. You can't do since you're in Kentucky, and I don't know. Like, this is way out. It may not even be possible, but you can't do like a motion to remove it to a local jurisdiction court for you.
Oh yeah, I have. I most definitely have, and they haven't heard my motion. Every January 6th defendant has asked for change of venue, and it's not.
You should really push that. I would really push that one.
I'm going to when the judge finally puts his order out on the motion or agrees to have a hearing over it. Right? I mean, I filed 5 motions over a year ago, and so far he's agreed to look at one of them. He hasn't even moved on the rest yet, and he has all the way up until my trial to do that.
Well, have you tried calling his clerk and getting a date to have the motions heard and have it set in the calendar, not waiting for him to do it? Try to do it proactively.
So I've been in the process here recently. So my paralegals, they've had to go to Houston to take a class for that discovery database. They've been very busy, and I want to be able to have some set down time with them before I do all that. So the 22nd when we meet, we'll start reviewing footage. We'll put my witness list together. We'll start connecting pieces of evidence to each witness through the footage, through the documents, through other things I've gathered over the past 2.5 years. We'll present that all to the judge and ask for him to see all my motions. We'll remind him about the motions that he has to see before trial in that hearing, because he's most definitely going to question some of my witnesses. He's going to want to throw them out, and I'm going to want to challenge that. When I told my public defender that I was going to be subpoenaing Ray Epps, he told, even though I had an encounter with the guy, right? Even though I was standing right next to him, and we spoke, see me in footage standing right next to him. He's like, we're not doing that. We're not putting Ray Epps on the stand and this, that, and the other. And then I kept telling him, no, we're putting him on the stand. And finally, one day he says, look, my supervisor has told me that we are not moving forward with any defense that puts Ray Epps on the stand. And if you're going to mention his name, we won't put you on the stand. And that's when I filed for my Coretta motion and fired him.
Danny, I'm going to drop that link for you. There it is. If you want to jump up here and chat with everyone. I've spoken with Danny Wayne a few times on the phone, not ever on live stream. You'll stand down? All right. He doesn't want to come up, I guess. I don't know. You're welcome to come up whenever. But Gilligan's, how many freaking alts do you got, bro? I thought you were just renaming your channel. As the sheriff of Nottingham has pardoned you. So, Star Fox, you're going to click the link? You can click the link, bro. All right, let's hear what you got to say. I'll let you click the link. Not anyone can click it, but Star Fox or Danny Wayne. And I might not, we'll see. Give me your question. Danny, come up and talk, man. If you want. Otherwise, we can keep going. I mean, I've been wanting to have a conversation with you, but whenever you're available. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't even know where to go from here. I mean, there's just so much to cover here, and it's it's so funny. Like there's so many like right-wing activists that watch my channel. They won't speak on it. They're scared, I think. I know they're listening, they're lurking. So we got all lefties in here taking over the chat. It's fine. Because y'all push back and, make sure that things are spoken well and true. Somewhat, we got to be on our game to get the point across. So it's fun, but y'all, the biggest thing, the first case that we covered here, it's funny you brought up Breonna Taylor here earlier. One of the first cases that we went through on my new channel, back in March or April, I would have to guess. Breonna Taylor, we were talking to people that were there who watched those protests and how that was all staged and used for the government's benefit and how they covered up the stories there. And then all of a sudden we're here with the J6 and, all the people are like, oh, yeah, it was a setup, the Breonna Taylor thing, oh, the J6 thing, you shouldn't have done it. But the reality is we're getting played left and right by these political organizations until we come to govern ourselves under God. God forbid I say that one. There goes half the audience. But
yeah, let me to give you another little connection between the Breonna Taylor thing in here, right? My son, he's got a black wife, he's got a mixed little girl, and they were living with me on January 6th. His wife would go down to the protest every day, every night, faithfully, was down there at Shepherd Square participating in the protests while I watched my granddaughter. I didn't necessarily agree with her point of view and everything that was going on down there, but I did agree with my daughter-in-law's right to peacefully state her mind, to participate in activism if that's what she wanted to do. It wasn't something that I did, but I was a Marine. I liked seeing her participate in democracy, right, in our republic, in our system. And, it turned out she ended up being one of the ones down there that was telling these provocateurs to get out of our town. And so out of the Breonna Taylor thing, right, the only really thing that came out of all of it law-wise is a couple cops got some slaps on the wrist and maybe some time. And the Breonna Taylor family got some money, and they passed an act called the Breonna Taylor Act that forbids no-knock warrants in the state of Kentucky. That act passed in 2020, late 2020, and it became law January 1st, 2021, and May 4th, 2021, 30 FBI agents took a battering ram to my door and pointed rifles at me, my son, my black daughter-in-law, my mixed granddaughter, and none of them seemed to want to ever ask me who I am and who I really am or what I'm really about, or the people I surround myself with. They just want to say, oh, you were at the Capitol on January 6th. You're some
They busted your door in for this warrant?
Fuck. And you know what? I had been leaving my door unlocked because I knew they was coming. I'd seen other people being arrested. I put all my footage all over social media. So I'm like, I know they're coming. I'm going to leave my door unlocked. So
This is one big training exercise.
Yeah, 30 agents busted my door in, battering rams out, ARs.
That's fucking up, dude. It's got to be a training exercise. Because
4 months after no-knock warrants were banned in the state of Kentucky because of
that's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy, man. That blows my mind. I didn't know that's how. I assumed everybody basically got served notice or something. I didn't realize the fact that there were so many people there and that because it's of the nature of it, they spread across the country. My head just goes to it's basically a way to do a training op, a door kick training op for alleged, patriots.
Yeah,
wow.
And wiring your house up too, because they put my son, when they took me out of the car to take me to FBI headquarters, they put my son, my daughter-in-law, my granddaughter in the back bedroom and tell them don't come out and shut the door, and spent about 2 hours going through my house. Right. Then they sent them out of the bedroom and told them stay out there and shut the door, and went through that room for like a half hour. And then they just left, and I wasn't here through all this. This is what my son is telling me. He was scared to come to back over. They moved out after.
Oh, bro, that's traumatizing. That's 100%. Yeah, They're going to have PTSD from that. How can you not? Did the warrant? So I'm just sorry to interrupt, but I'm like, obviously the warrant was for you, but why were they searching your residence? Like the warrant has to say we're looking. It has to detail what it's looking for, and if they're searching your house, it means they had to be searching for an item, not just you.
They wanted their warrant was for my PC, my cell phone.
Oh, get out of here!
The Guy Fawkes mask I was wearing and the Trump hoodie I was wearing. That's the 4 items that their search warrant was.
Yeah,
asked
just I was curious because, like, if it was just for you, they can't be going through your shit like that. But literally, just saying they're looking for a cell phone, they can literally look anywhere in your house that you could feasibly hide a cell phone, which essentially gives them the right to search your entire house, fucking top to bottom. It's the warrants are really scandalous like that.
And baby's in here. Oh wow! Now y'all care because you went to jail. You think this is new? Baby's simping for the left out here.
Baby, I've been saying I've been arrested 30 times in my life. Spent 25 years a junkie, right? And was sitting right next to your brothers that were treated far more harshly than me. I'm not. Why? I don't know why you think I'm against you just because I support Donald Trump. I'm not. I'm on your side. Dude downstairs, my boy. I mean, you come by where I live. I've lived in the West End of Louisville for 4 years in the old California neighborhood. You don't know me. You're just hearing my story on the internet, baby.
And I myself, I've been speaking about this stuff for 5-6 years. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to listen at all. So it's very difficult to even get an audience unless you know how to do it. I'm figuring it out. Don't worry. But, I myself, I've been pushing, we need to get in the courts and stay out of the streets for at least 5 or 6 years now. So, it's not that I don't care. I very much do. And a lot of people do. But the reality is it's very difficult to get this information out there. It's not Kim Kardashian's new sex tape. It's words on paper and how they could impact your life. It's not as appealing,
And I'll be honest, man, like, I got humbled a couple days ago putting some plants in the ground where I'm at and just chopping this fucking clay soil out here. I had a pick and all I did is put 2 tomato plants, good sized ones. But like I was in the middle of the day. My point is I almost died. I'm out of shape. And I was like, I just stood there thinking, how pussified all of us are. Like the men that built this country could have like chopped up the 10 acres I'm on with their own back in a few days. And I was literally after 20 minutes, like, I'm fucking done. Like, okay, that's big enough for the garden. And my point is that type of fortitude, like we're all weak. We're just weak people. And the fortitude it takes to get in court, to fight against the pressures that they're going to put on you when you stand up for yourself, to be called, every name in the book because people are against you until they realize what you're fighting for and then they're with you. Like all of, that it's just, you have to be ready for that. It's not easy is what I'm saying, but I'm not saying that to say, don't do it. I'm saying we've all gotten too soft. It's like what used to be, what we think is a challenge is literally what people used to just, consider a breeze. And maybe it's just going to take a hard fall and, soft men make hard times and maybe there's no way to avoid that. But you have to, you got to get a little fortitude if you're going to get in this game and expect anything to change. Like, no, you're not going to vote your way out of it. I mean, it's just, it's not going to happen. Like, if nothing changes, dude, I got caught up in Trump and voted for him the first time and quickly realized that I got duped. Then when Biden came in and everyone's like, oh, woe is me. And I've just been doing my own thing and not looking back. What's changed? Like, nothing fucking changes no matter who's in office. And the only thing that may change is local government. I'm not saying, obviously if you're living next to your neighbor and you can put your thumb on them and make, control your local area a little better. But they're all actors, man. Nobody's going to get up there and fight for you. It's just I feel like dumb that I ever fell for it, and now I'm just like, even the power in my own life. It's not easy, but the cops leave me alone. I mean, I'm not getting hassled. Yeah, they did this stuff, and I'm fighting these cases, but it's just because they got the first punch, so I got to get set back a little bit. I still get to file my civil suits and hold them accountable if I want to put that energy into it. And I just that's why I'm here too, talking to Truther. It's why I need to get on my channel more. But there aren't a lot of people that are winning, that are coming up and saying, yeah, the government came after me. Basically I fought the law and I won, but it takes time. And again, shout out to Jurisdictionary. If you're gonna get in this and you're gonna do any type of litigating, even if you're gonna hire attorneys, I would suggest it, because you're gonna know how good of an attorney is working. But if you're gonna pro se, Jurisdictionary, and through the link, winincourt.com for Truth or Cop. And it's not even that we're selling it. Like I would, there's no discount. It just gives him a kickback. But I'm telling you, as someone who's taking the course, it's like, and has been a college junkie back in the day, like this is a very well laid out, just phenomenal resource.
It's winincourt.org, and
winincourt.org. Yeah.
And it's not pretty. It's not, dude, the courts are not pretty. It's not like this whole guns blazing situation that everybody expects. And that's what makes it so boring.
Yeah.
Like, so people don't want to hear that the courts are where you actually make things happen. They don't want to hear it. They want the guns blazing. They want,
Dude, and I've been there, bro. I want collapse. Like, dude, I'm a doomer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, let's fucking make it happen.
Yeah.
But it's not happening. So what can I do now in the interim to at least secure myself? And then if everybody starts doing it, it can make a bigger impact. But the saying, the courts, they grind slow, but they grind fine. And I'm an adrenaline junkie. This isn't easy for me to have the patience. But it grinds fine, man. Like it doesn't miss anything. That's what the adversarial, system is about. Is the only evidence that gets in is relevant. It's hard. We could go down a side road and just on legal nerd stuff about the Brady case and how that kind of changed jurisprudence in America big time. And that's the example of how one person fighting a case can just, Miranda, Arizona versus Miranda. It takes, not every person is going to set a precedent, but once a precedent gets set, it changes the whole culture. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. That's where we don't go to courts and have our representatives represent us. We present ourselves. We establish the law in the court on paper, and we can have a shift like that. Like that's where the law actually has an impact. And that's what I realized again, like 5 or 6 years ago. That's where the law actually, the rubber meets the road. Politicians can sit in their high offices and say whatever they want, but it doesn't, and they can put cuffs on people and all this for whatever. But the court is where people come together and there's rules set in place for reasons to establish the truth.
Exactly.
Allegedly, ideally.
And there, like in my case, there are litigation services out there that you can hire instead of attorney if you want to be pro se and you're not really real confident in yourself. The paralegals do all the work anyway, people. The litigation service, it's called Ream Litigation Services that I hired. They have investigators. They have people to help write out motions. They have people to build. The lady that started the business that I'm using, right? So she was we were discussing how I ended up pro se. And she was telling me how in her very first case, right, the first case she was hearing, it was like a murder trial. It was like a horrific murder. And she had really gone out of her way to do her job and to do it right, to look at things from both sides and to be objective. And she had him. She had him nailed, had the evidence, was ready. So she goes into court and she's just smiling and she's so happy. You know, it's her first case and they're going to win this big murder case because of the work that she put in. And she's smiling and the prosecutor looks at her and he's like, or not the prosecutor, the defense attorney looks over at her and he's like, what are you smiling at? And she says, we're going to win this. The truth is on our side. And the defense attorney says, the truth ain't got nothing to do with this. And they went on and the court proceeded and the guy got off, right? I forget what it was, but it was some technicality the guy got off on. And so she saw then, right? But she continued to work at her job and to just try to be better as a prosecutor, right? To catch the bad guy. And she came into an instance where they were asking her to lie. They were asking her to lie against somebody that she didn't feel like she had convicted with her evidence, with her investigative work, with her. And she's mostly like, she's very technical, right? Like she builds her own databases. She's giving classes across the nation for the DOJ on how to build discovery databases from a technical end, right? So this is her expertise. And they're asking her to lie about some technical things, right? And she refuses to do it. And they put her on the, she told them, you put me on the stand, I'm going to tell the truth. And they put her on the stand and she told the truth. And the person they were trying to get walked, and she left the Department of Justice and started working for, you know, took her paralegal firm, her litigation services, that, you know, her skills that she acquired, started her own litigation service and started working for defense attorneys. Right. And she said she's seen the same type of corruption on the defense side where she'll feel like she can prove somebody's innocent, right? And the attorneys will convince them to take a plea because it's quicker and easier than a trial. The payday is right here, right now, money, let's go. And they don't really want to mess with their buddy, the prosecutor that they go play golf with anyway. They want their friend to have a high conviction rate.
And that's the thing. Yeah. Is it everybody else, all these lawyers and attorneys, even if you're paying them, they're playing a long game. They're playing a game of 20, 30 years. They have a career, at least.
Exactly.
They're not going to take the risks that a pro se person representing themselves is going to take. They won't be as aggressive. They won't be upsetting people. They don't want to upset the judge. So if they feel like they're going to upset the judge, they'll just kind of go along with the narrative, even if it means their client isn't getting the best representation possible. It's just the nature of the system. It's the financial incentives. They govern everything in the system we're in because people aren't about the truth. They're about covering their own ass at this point. It's a sad world we live in, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, as much as, yeah, I mean, I could go on both sides because I know a guy, like I was telling you, got off on a murder on a technicality. And they knew he did it, and he knew he did it. And he walked right out and told them, better luck next time. And he got it next time. But, you know, like technicalities like that, it's, you know, I can't say I agree with it, but at the same time, I don't disagree with it. It's, you know, a lot of innocent people got railroaded before we had a, you know, system that would not allow evidence that was obtained immorally or, you know, without due process. I mean, I could, like, even that's essentially the reason all my suppression, you know, happened, which mine's weird because I didn't, you know, it's not like I robbed a bank and then they came up on me and they're, you know, we're talking about essentially like just disorderly type behavior that's very subjective in its nature. But as quick as they were on the trigger to tell me I was under arrest, like just those words without me having committed a crime, let's say I had a gun or had, you know, stolen property or something in my truck and they did arrest me that day, I would get off on all that too. That was actually part of the prosecutor's argument, was why the motion to suppress shouldn't have been granted is because they said they didn't take any evidence from me. So what can be suppressed? And I argued everything, like their testimony, basically what they saw from the moment of their false arrest forward, none of that should be admitted. And that's what the judge agreed with. He won't let them testify to anything they saw or whatever. So like, you know, if I had weed sitting in my seat or, you know, just something like that, I'm saying that's also evidence that would have been like actual physical evidence they couldn't use against me for any crimes. And I mean, you see how important it is. You just realize, and going through this too, like, dude, look, it's not a black problem, it's a poverty problem in the sense that the police pick on poor people. And you know, there may be more black poor people in certain areas, but the areas where there's a lot of white poor people or a lot of Mexican poor people or whatever, like, it's all the same, man. Nobody's getting justice without money. Or
they're not getting
learn
justice.
in pro se.
They're not getting justice with money. Even when they pay a good attorney, like we were saying earlier, they're not going to take the risks that someone who doesn't have to worry about a 30-year career will take to keep themselves out of jail. I mean, there's no greater incentive than one's own freedom. So, I
mean, there's layers to that too. I know a guy in New York that got off on back before marijuana. You know, this is 20 years ago. He got caught transporting marijuana, and the attorney basically told him it'll be $160,000 to get you off. And he gave his attorney $160,000, and the charges went away. So there's definitely that side of it where if you have money, it's the 30-year plan is also probably lining, you know, playing the game and making sure. This is New York, so, you know, I think it's a lot more corrupt on that payoff. You know, can't get anything done in New York without paying somebody off. I know that from construction too. So
Trump knows that as well. Yeah, let's be fair.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't.
I'm so done with like this whole Trump narrative. I'm so done with anyone looking for leadership outside of themselves. You have to straighten yourself out. You have to govern yourself with God, the creator, or whatever that is to you. That's where your rights and freedom come from. It doesn't come from paper. It doesn't come from whoever's in office. It comes from your connection to the source. And, you know, people like, you know, Jim Bob was in here earlier. Oh, what's the source? I can already hear him challenging me. I get flack every direction I travel because, you know, in the pursuit of the truth, that's what's going to happen. It just will.
Have you looked into that the Beeks case, James Beeks' January 6th case, TC?
I've only seen a couple of his motions. I saw that he got off with everything, and I saw that he was using God in his
saw
motion.
the affidavit that he filed. That's what he said. That affidavit that he filed, saying exactly what you're saying, is what set the stage for him to win his case. He said it put him in a position of making demands of the court instead of making requests. He said when you file a motion with no supporting affidavit to tell the court what direction these motions you're taking with these motions, you're just making a request of a judge. When you've affirmed your rights under God in the form of an affidavit prior to filing your motions, everything you do falls under the jurisdiction of your statement of fact before the courts, right? And the courts couldn't dispute his statement of the facts because it quotes scripture about our creator God and law and how the Constitution and the Declaration say exactly what the scripture says and where our laws, in the regards as to where our laws come from, where their origin is, and that origin is with God.
Mm-hmm. The creator.
And our rights. Where our rights come from, rather. Where what our laws should be based on, not necessarily what they are.
And Ken, you were saying earlier you don't believe in filing affidavits. This is an affidavit filed by James Beeks, who was
acquitted on and he had felony charges for January 6th. He was in the building. He was an oath keeper that had left the oath keepers after January 6th. Now I'm saying all this, but he's also a Broadway actor, right? Broadway actor. Right. He did Jesus Christ Superstar. He was a Broadway actor.
He was Judas.
Yeah,
nonetheless.
Nonetheless.
He's got a weird. Have you talked to him? You said you were going to get in touch with him.
No, I have. I have his phone number. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. He says
I would like to talk to him.
To say a little, right? It's like talking to a Stephen King book. You get all the details.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a good guy, though. I like him.
Yeah, this is actually what I was asking you about, Truther. I want to I'm glad I'm able to get video right now, but my screen isn't clear enough to be able to read it. I want to read that affidavit.
I can forward. I'll email it to you.
Cool. And so just to push back on you, you're saying he got acquitted. Well, acquittal comes from a jury, so it doesn't come from an affidavit. Are you saying he got acquitted or he got his charges dismissed?
He opted to go for a bench trial, right? And the judge agreed to hear just 2 of the charges in the case in a bench trial, and that would justify the whole case. 1 of the felonies and 1 of the misdemeanors, right?
Okay.
So he did his bench trial before Judge Maida, and it got sealed, right? I've asked James to get the transcripts, told him I would pay for them, and he's in the process of looking into that and getting back to me, because I want him to review step by step what happened in that courtroom with me. But I want to have the transcripts in front of me when he does it, right? Just because I like to do my own due diligence. And we'll see, right? But he says that this affidavit set the stage for his acquittal when he did his bench trial before Judge Maida.
Which is, yeah, I mean, I'm not against, so again, I do think everything should be in writing and it needs to be filed either in a motion, I mean, or I haven't used affidavits. My understanding is they just don't carry the weight that I'm looking for to move a court. But obviously the point is, it sounds like maybe he did the same thing where I put it in a motion, he laid it out in an affidavit, but it essentially is laying out your argument that you're going to do at trial. So if he went to trial and this gives his argument,
He filed standard motions as well. He just filed this first, and then the way he put it was every one of the motions he filed after this, that this statement of facts turned those motions into demands rather than requests. Because he states in this affidavit that the judge works for him, not vice versa, just in a very legalese kind of way, right? That's exactly what it kind of states, though, is that his rights originate from God. If the laws of man don't coincide, if they conflicted, he's not held liable for them. That the courts work for him, the people, right, not vice versa. And it just lays it all out as these are facts. So from thenceforward within his trial, right, because they couldn't dispute the statement of facts he set forward, it set a set of rules, right, that they had to stay within, right? This is a statement of facts in this case. So now every motion that he files, I work for him. This isn't a request of me, it's a demand. You see what I'm saying? It's not one or the other. It's you present your statement of facts in a way that, because the courts could have argued this, right? They could have threw it out and said these are illegitimate facts, but they didn't. Instead, they sealed his case so that then from there forward, if you got into Pacer and looked up his case, you could see the minutes, like there was a motion filed, but you can't pull up the motion and look at it, right? No.
I mean, yeah, but I think you're conflating a little bit. Like, you can make 10 statements. Maybe he said that, the courts are created by God. He made all these things, but maybe he also made the statement of fact that you can't prove intent or whatever, and that's why he got acquitted. So it doesn't mean the court accepts all 10 of your facts. And that, like, I'm just throwing that out there because I'm a Christian. I believe our rights come from God, 100%. The Constitution doesn't give us rights, though. It ties the hands of the government. I mean, that's definitely like the angle that
That's what he's saying in this affidavit, that the Constitution doesn't give us our rights. It puts limits on the government. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly.
He's saying that both the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, bear out the truth that our rights come from God, right?
Which is true, but you're almost saying it like if you get to prove our rights come from God, then the courts can't pursue something. And again, I'm just saying I don't see that as being the case.
I'm saying that that's the way that Mr. Beeks represented his case to me. And I have in turn asked him to get the transcript from his case so that he can review step by step what took place throughout his hearings and trial. And I have the transcripts to see if what he's saying matches up with what the courts filed and then we'll know. I'm not saying that I believe these things or that I've witnessed these things. I'm reviewing James Beeks' case and what he is, how he has portrayed what took place to me, right? And
I mean, the transcript would be great, but even just the judge's order, just for the judge to say, this is why I'm making the decision I'm making, it'll kind of cut through all of the, the crap, for lack of a better word, and just say what the judge found pertinent in what he wrote. And that should only be a few pages, I would think, at the very end. Just throwing it out there, if it's because I know transcripts can be expensive and just hard to deal with sometimes. But if we could just see what the judge ruled on, that would give us 80% of it, I think.
yeah, and like that's the thing. My case, you can do that. You can go pull up my name in Pacer and see all the motions I filed and click on them and pull them up and read them because I filed good but standard motions. Right? This isn't that's what I'm saying. This isn't what I believe. It's what he told me. I have taken as a pro se defendant the standard approach to courts by filing motions, including case law, making it strong. I had to do a lot of research to figure out there's more than just Brady that affects discovery, right? I didn't know that. I thought it was Brady v. Maryland. That's it. But there's all kinds of cases supporting discovery and what have you. And so that's the approach that I've taken. But you can go to Pacer and look at my case and see that. If you go into Pacer and pull up his case, you can only see the minutes. Like he filed this affidavit, he filed this motion, but if you click on it, nothing don't come up because his case is sealed.
Tommy.
What up, Tommy?
Hello.
I dropped a link on it for you specifically. I didn't even have to say it.
Say hi to you guys and I'll give Ken one of those Newman hellos.
No, Lord.
I'm here. Just let the dog in.
And William Pope, another pro se defendant, he's gone the route of just flat out calling the courts a corporation in his filings, right? And they've also sealed his case, but he's yet to have his trial, so we don't know what the results of his efforts are going to be. But he's also forced McCarthy, right? He's gotten McCarthy he can go to the Capitol building or some office in D.C. close to the Capitol though, and sit down in a room and pull up any day or time from the CCTV footage at the Capitol building and review it, right? Like it's enter a day, January 6th, this time, a map of all 1,700 cameras, pick any camera, watch it, right? He signed a protective order, but he's been able to get McCarthy to give him this. He's a pro se defendant, and he's saying that the courts are a corporation and that he doesn't fall under the jurisdiction of the United States of America Incorporated within his filings. That's the way he portrays his case, right?
So this is where we get into where no one can show me this working anywhere. And I mean, I've seen people argue this, and like I've said, when I started my thing, I don't know if you were here, but I looked into the jurisdiction, corporation argument, and I've looked at hundreds of hours of Sovereign Citizens in court online, and not one of them has succeeded. So I'm a bit skeptical of that argument.
Okay, and I mean, maybe as far as looking into the
show me one then. I mean, don't even tell me. Show
Are you
me.
just going to interrupt me because I'm saying
I'll
it?
bring into the same issue though, Ken. I haven't been able to find one either.
Right. Because you're looking into sovereign citizens, and right out of the gate there, anybody that's claiming that is already fucking up because the
but I look under U.S. national.
All right.
Or state national. What I look under state national.
Okay, so how come you guys aren't finding successful?
You can't be a sovereign citizen because those things, that's an oxymoron, right?
That's what I'm saying, Guy Fawkes. You can't be sovereign citizen, but we were supposed to be a sovereign nation. And whenever the woman was told a republic, if you can keep it, ma'am, it's because your freedom is literally dependent on knowing what the fuck is up. Like, that's what we were talking about last time, Guy Fawkes. It said when this country was founded.
We'll find out if it works because William Pope, a January 6th defendant, it's the exact approach that he's taking. And his case, like James Beeks, has been sealed. We'll see. Does he get an acquittal or does he go to prison or?
No, he fucked up because he thought it was a good idea to go to a city that is not part of the United States border. He went outside of the country and fucked around, and now some of you guys are finding out. And I know you're okay because you only have misdemeanors. You're going to be fine. And you have a lawyer to some extent over those misdemeanors. You should be fine. But you guys don't even know how often you're clicking I agrees and not thinking about it. This is why he said a republic if you can keep it. Because now we're in the end of it, as Ice 9 will happen anytime. Like, no man knoweth the day or the hour, but Ice 9 is coming. And then, like, you will realize this America thing is finished.
Yeah, I can't wait.
No, me neither. Okay, it sounds great. It sounds great. I put actually a whole lot of research in this. I've watched like 12 hours of David Lester Straight talking about it. It seems to me more like they're trying to convince you to denounce your
It's
U.S.
because you're looking to men. Like, there's men you can look to tell you what this is, but how you do it is like you'd have to. It's like the way. Okay, what I bitch about with sovereign citizens that go by that name, a lot of them are drunk yokels that want to get pulled over and just hold a card out to the cop or recite a thing, and the cop lets them go. And that's not what it is. It's like, Kim, you were talking about fight styles. It's like if you're rolling in jujitsu on the mat with a guy, you must know that if this arm is here, you must do this or go there. You can't just be told a thing. You can't just do a thing and he gets off of you. You must know, according to where his legs and arms are, I must do this in response. You can't just know one move that beats all moves. And Stephen David, the too long didn't read on Ice 9, this is when all the people that have been planted throughout the Federal Reserve and the finance and the economic system, they agree that we should be one world money, one world taxation, and there's going to be a day that it just happens at a switch flip event that we switch over to the new monetary system that for months, El Perro, I see you typing your loud exclamation LOLs. For months, I've been telling you guys that's why I bought into this shit, and it's gonna happen. And it's not about, oh, did those hackers hit yet? Because they did, and it's still happening. But I mean, you guys got to understand, with respect to Guy Fawkes, who's showing up as a guest speaker off of his thing he was involved in, you guys are a community of verification bias.
No, I get it, man. I know a lot of people that tell me what you tell me, especially because I have a January 6th case. A lot of people want to tell me how I should do it, right? I mean,
no, I ain't telling you. I'm saying
I get it, though.
individual must know how to do it.
And I look into these things, man.
I can give you my own stories about how I go to maritime court and win because I know it's maritime court. You can't go to maritime court and just say one cue card that you've memorized and always get out. If you know how maritime court works, you can go for your individual reason you're called and win. EBT, Enslaved by Tom. You're free to come up, bro. You want to like talk through my video when I give it to you for debut? Come on up and argue with me if you know more than me. You guys want to talk about how to be a far leftist crazy person, you got to get back in the basement up here. I don't know nothing about that. No, at EBT, it wasn't a trash video. It was, you guys hate the guy so much that you literally give him ammo to sit there and trash it when your drunk remedial asses paused the key, point to the video and talked over it. Like when you paused it to say it was trash, you were getting to the, oh my God, it's the DiCaprio Shutter Island 6 fucking flip endings, and you talk through it. Well, no offense, CBT, your channel's trash because you play 3 months ago content for your people and say, look, we're legends. Remember when we did this 3 months ago? Oh, we're still legends. We hated on Davy Crocco till he died. Now Tom's going to exploit it. Sorry, Truther Cop, your chat's fucking with me. We can get back on track here.
I'm letting you roll, Tommy. I think me and Guy Fawkes pretty much got our things out. He brought you up so you could cook a little.
Yeah, and I didn't want to fuck it up because I was here, rando, the first time Guy Fawkes showed up. We had a really good talky talk. No, EBT, you're not ahead of the game. I laugh at the shit you say. When I come up and tell you why you're wrong, you guys kick me and tell me all the typical gaslighting shit. Like, you're nothing special, EBT. It just took me longer to realize it about you.
Hey, Tommy, do you see Steven's comment?
Fuck yes, Jack. Davy Crocco died. And let me tell you the fucking hit piece I'm making about the cock body suck line enslaved by Tom crew. Those motherfuckers for months have walked around reminding me, oh, Davy Crocco hated Tom. Davy Crocco hated Tom. They got the nerve to sit there the other night and talk about how Davy Crocco strongly wanted to be their friends. And they kept him at an arm's length and never allowed it. And they busted on him and busted on his content. And then he fucking died. And I'm gonna fucking YouTube exploit that shit. Doesn't that sound like shitty people, Guy Fawkes? Like, you don't know this community. What I just described, and you're not judging them. You can say, if those people I don't know are really doing the thing you said, that does sound like shitty people to me. It's okay. You're not judging. They are shitty people. Like, at least me and them.
Maybe they just need a hug. Hug somebody, guys.
Yeah, they need a nice, fast, fisted hug to the face repeatedly. Maybe enough of a hug to break their nose and say that was for Davy Crocco. Because one of those motherfuckers is asking for donations for his new computer because he's a broke-ass dude that has kids with every wife that he had. He knocks up each wife, had to get rid of a kid before he ever married a fucking woman, and now he's asking for money for a computer because the ghost of Davy Crocco broke his. I hate that douchebag.
All right.
You don't like Drew? I didn't say his name, you fucking reject. You got no class. I needed to ask you a question, though, as a creator, truth or cop.
Yeah, I also have something to bring up to you that I want to make sure we're clear. And I said it in Jim Bob's chat the other day, or
I
wherever
wasn't
Jim Bob
in
was
Jim Bob's
present.
chat.
No, you were. Jim Bob was in the chat, and I was talking to both of you at the same time when you were there.
Where?
But what's up? I don't remember. It must have been CBO or Get Chalked Up.
And you're saying I would have seen it?
Well, what I wanted to bring to your attention was Jim Bob's final. He was in here earlier. Shout out to Jim Bob. His final, his whole Savage Memes volume 5 that he's releasing now, is called Illuminormy. Okay, I don't think he realizes it. That I believe you were the inspiration for that.
I don't know, because I've said things to the effect of like that I might have had an effect, but I think they were always saying it. I'm not sure because nobody acknowledges. Like, I think I even sent him a super chat.
Don't
that said
downplay
something
him.
like,
It was he stole your name. He used it as a Savage Volume Memes of Savage Memes Volume 5, Illuminormy. He took it and he used your name, bro.
I think. Well, I'm Illumitommy, and
I
I used Illuminati in the sound, the phonetic sound. Hey, Illumitommy, you get it? See what I did? I switched to Illumitommy. So I might have inspired it with no confirmation from him. But even when motherfuckers write Illuma dumbass, Illuma whatever they add, it's like the joke's on them. Like, they're not saying Tommy. They're just changing the Illuma word, which they're free to do. I made my name up off of it. But I'm not Normie Ginger Ridge. I'm a truth person. I'm not a truther. I'm not truthio. I walk with God. I seek truth. And the truth is, you're on a globe. And I'm sorry if that sounds too normal for your rebellious asses. You're just proving that you don't believe it's flat. You think you're being a rebel. You think you're being outside the status quo. And so you'll deny truth to tell yourself that you're in the not normie. And then Jim Bob even said that normie, like these truthers or whatever, are the new normies, because y'all are.
And so hit me with your final question. I'm going to let Guy Fawkes and Kem close out here. Hit me with that question, bro.
Okay, so I've been talking about the cop standoff night, the big project I made off the footage and shit. to post a video over 15 minutes and to be able to put proper thumbnails on my videos, I have to verify. But you need like a service phone number. I have an app phone number and you can't verify with them. So I don't know how to verify. And when I asked a girl that doesn't want the community to know we have each other's phone number, I asked her to do it for me. I was like, I'm going to put your number in, and when it sends you the code, just send me the code as a text. And she's like, I'm going into cybersecurity. I can't do that. And I'm like, girly, you're not going into cyber uncertainty. That's not a career. You can use one phone number to verify 2 channels per year, just to say I'm not a robot. And she thinks that I'm setting her up with something. So I don't know how to get my fucking channel verified.
So this was one long convoluted way of you asking me for my phone number.
No, is that your solution?
Hit me up at contact@healinglaw.com.
And I also, so like you're saying, you'll just give me your phone number
right now.
Yeah. No, I'm not giving it over there. No, whatever, we'll do it. If you need my phone number to verify,
are you wrapping up this stream?
Yeah, I'm wrapping it up. Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait after you're done and we're off. What's it called? You're not on the air and we're just talking like it's phone call, not on air. Let's just do it then.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I'm gonna kick you to the back for a moment and give them
Fine.
closing
I
remarks.
hate you guys. Fine.
Fine. I'll kick you back. I'll bring you up when we'll have a private conversation after the fact. All right. Did you have anything else to say?
I was just going to obnoxiously say bet because I don't say bet or lit or fight.
All right. I'm going to kick you to the back. All right. We got Eric or Kem. You guys got any closing remarks you'd like to add? Oh, wait. Danny Wayne.
You.
Back. Oh, Lord. All right. Danny
Bring
Wayne,
him
I
up.
got to give him time today.
Yeah.
What's
Hey,
up, Danny?
You got a mic check?
Can you come out? Hold on. Let me see if I can get you a little louder.
All right, you got a mic check? Mic
All right,
check.
there you
mic
go.
check. Mic check.
Sounds good, man.
Hey,
How you
man.
doing?
Hey, I have a few things I really want to ask you. I got a call from the lawyer from Taylor. She wanted the footage from the record, when we dropped the record over there.
Mm-hmm.
And she acted like she needed it. They still got him in jail for no reason at all. So, I'm really curious why he didn't go to court today. He's been the past 2 days, So, but other than that, my issue with Alexandria, man, I'm worried I'm gonna get some time over that. Searching all my property, and I woke up, I was having a stroke. And shit, they arrested me and charged me with all kind of shit. They told me there was no money. But if I don't go to court, Alexandria is the worst one to go to get charged with anything. But I was just wondering about Taylor, if y'all got anything. Yeah. You follow me?
Yeah. It's feeding back on your end. I was trying to figure out how to cancel the echo. But yeah.
With a question for you, TC. First off, go pro se if you go to court. And what are there any updates with Taylor? How is he doing? Has anybody spoken with him even? I mean,
Danny would know more than most, I think. But
yeah, well, that's
he's still in
trial.
He's still in trail.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, his phone is not active. I could call his lawyer back, but she wants the footage from that record where they dropped us, and I don't see how in the hell they could just take that. That's YouTube done that. YouTube pulled all this shit.
Wait. You were feeding back so much in the beginning. What, YouTube got you crossed up with the cops?
No, Taylor Toronto's YouTube channel got taken down where the record footage is that his attorney wants.
Yeah. So anyways, and I'm really worried about my constitutional rights that got violated over there when I had that stroke over in Alexandria at the Memorial Biker Parade,
Mm-hmm.
So my constitutional rights, they just been stepping all over. That's what they do. They tell you to walk in the street and then they arrest you for jaywalking.
Yeah. That'll happen. You gotta watch them.
That place is a total joke. I always said we need to revoke, District of Columbia straight off the bat. If we can't do nothing at all, we can do that. You know what I mean? They don't respect the Constitution whatsoever. I'm not saying that's going to make America all great, but it'll be a good start. You know what I'm saying? They just make up the rules as they go along, and they trap you. The paperless charges. So when they do violate your Constitution, there's no record of it because all they done was lock you up. Then they turn you loose like they ain't done shit.
Mm-hmm.
That paperless shit. I know it's good for the locals and all that shit. And I'm sure they get little baby kickbacks. I can't imagine what the text is gonna be saying right now, but all the locals get kickbacks. It's hush hush. I was up there 6 months, man. Not like I know it.
Danny, let's I'll have you. Let me have you back on soon when.
All right, I just wanted to throw out some respect and come on and want to talk.
No, thank you for coming up, dude. It's good to have you finally on my stream.
What did you want to find out about? Anything in particular?
Well, yeah. Right now, I'd have to look. I'd have to go back. I've been focusing on Cam and Eric. So,
all right, brother.
Toronto is it's like another thing. But good to see you, man.
Yeah, he's still in there, bro.
Yeah, and we're gonna keep covering that. I was trying to take a small break from all that, but I wanted to get you up in here. I don't have any specific questions for you right now.
They keep saying he's dangerous to the public. That's a joke. He's a veteran. He deserves more respect than most. Anyway,
yeah, I didn't see anything that he was in danger to the public at all. No.
That's right. That's right. They just, and they're gonna just. It's freaking insane. And now he's got a court-appointed attorney, so you know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Just polite and all that, but he can't defend himself. He can't bring up the issues he wants.
Mm-hmm.
He can't search the videos like you were just saying, But I don't know how they hooked him into that deal.
No, I don't know either.
They probably told him, waive your rights and we'll release you in the morning. And then boom, there she comes.
And he's still there. Well, Danny, let's get in touch. I'll call you soon, and let's get in touch and set up a stream where we can go through everything. Because I'm not prepared to.
I want to take you to DC with me, bro. I'm going back, bro. They think I'm not coming back. As soon as I get my license, I'm hooking it, man. I'm hooking it. I just need a little bit of money, man. Just not very much money. Just need a little bit. I got a good place.
You still down in Carolina?
I can make it happen right here. It's not very much money, man, but I haven't been able to find no work or anything, So, like I said, peace and love to all y'all, man. Thank y'all for what you're doing and pulling the people together and trying to make a difference, man. It really matters. No matter what side of the fence we're on, we got to, make noise.
Sounds good, man. Thank you for coming up, man.
Y'all say the protests, don't do nothing, but I have to differ with you, man, because I seen them guys down there protesting, and I seen the results, and it does work, bro. It does work, because they're just gonna do whatever we want. If we just stay at home watching the phone or watching the computer, they're just gonna do whatever the hell they want to do, and then fill in their own narrative on it.
Yeah, man.
Like I said,
well, good to
man,
see you. We'll get you back up here soon.
I seen a lot of guys in the chat that already know me down there, so we'll see how it goes.
Sounds good, man.
I always try and worry
care
about. I always worry about convicting myself.
No, not here, man. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Do that.
Take care, man. Thanks for jumping up. All right, so that's Danny Wayne. We'll definitely have another. We'll have a discussion where I can actually have some topics lined up for us. Because there's a lot to get into there. Cam, you got any closing remarks? I don't want to keep you up here all night. You've been very patient. And Danny, if you want to, you can sit in the background too, because me and Tom, we're going to talk after. So, but Cam, please.
No, I appreciate you showing interest. I mean, this is just, I'm I've been lagging on doing any updates, and this is, Truth or Cop is actually definitely, made this happen. If for anyone that was interested, I mean, he's a great host, and it's just nice to have someone that is a good sounding board, and yeah, it's been fun for sure.
Thank you for
Whatever,
coming
like,
up.
appreciate. Look, I want to get into the other stuff later too. So this isn't like the only time, but yeah, definitely just want to throw that out. Thank you.
Well, yeah, because you're mid trial, so dude, when your trial's over, or I assume it'll be next week, or maybe next week we'll touch base and see what's happening. But But yeah, thanks for coming up, Cam. I'm gonna kick you backstage.
Yep. Cool. I was gonna hang out.
All right, sounds good. All right, so everybody's backstage. I'll get with you guys in just a second once I close this down. Y'all, we got what we needed to up here. Eric, if you're still around, you want to have a conversation backstage, hit that link again. And thanks to Ken Before the Storm, Danny Wayne, Illumitami, Eric, aka Guy Fox, for coming up here, sharing y'all's points of views. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Even those that disagree and are completely absurd and ridiculous. We love you. Maybe. Could be. It's possible that there's love for you. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, whatever, hit the likes or something. Do that type of thing. And if you guys want to do that course, winningcourt.org, jurisdictionary. It is the best self-help course there is. I don't plug many things, but I do get that is my affiliate link, winningcourt.org. Thank y'all for joining. Good to see y'all. ACB, Sunshine Time, Troll Central, Jessica Jane, Ginger Ridge, Max Smith, Jack Skellington, Al, even you, and G and all you. I'll see you guys around. Be well.